Oklahoma moving forward. Shane Beamer talking yesterday, getting into a bunch of different things from the craftiness of Brent Venables to ball security to how Lenore Sellers played against Alabama. And I did hear a stat last night that made me feel happy. Desmond Howard, breaking it down on College Football Live, credited Lenore Sellers with a 300-yard, 3-touchdown passing game. Yeah.
Did I miss that one?
I couldn't help but perk up a little bit and try to understand what was going on. But yeah, the play of Lenore Sellers, he talked about that. We'll get into all of that this morning. A lot to do here. We even listened to a little bit of Brent Venables and what he has to say. And if you weren't listening yesterday, at some point this morning, Preston has a proclamation. He is ready to state a big thing, a really big thing, something that he's going to state bigger than I did, because I actually think about this. I thought about this last night. I actually made this comment when we were in Darlington, and everybody got on me. And now that we're game week, you're ready to make it more emphatic.
Yeah, we're gonna raise this thing up, and as we do this, it's gonna be a slow build. It's gonna be a slow build. So hopefully you stay with us. But before we even get there, I want you to know that Oklahoma's offensive coordinator makes $1.1 million, and I want to set that as the bar for the rest of these statistics that I'm going to bring up intermittently throughout the show. So understand that if you've been watching our offense all season, just know I've got stuff coming for you.
We'll get into a lot of this. I'm a little confused as to why people seem to be so surprised at what's going on with Oklahoma's offense, because it was something that I kept bringing up in the offseason. Whether they ran him off, whether he left on his own. Brent Venables had, I know we have the clip, but it's from weeks and weeks and weeks ago, so I'm not going to ask Jen to dig through and find it. But Brent Venables made a comment about trying to make, or how in this day and age you make a player stay. When Dylan Gabriel left Oklahoma to go to Oregon, the now number 2 ranked Oregon Ducks, and Oklahoma moved on with former 5-star recruit Jackson Arnold, who couldn't even get through the first 4 games as the starter for the Sooners. And now they're on to Michael Hawkins, another freshman. But they lost Dylan Gabriel, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and they lost 5 offensive linemen. And it was like, oh, yeah, well, we're Oklahoma, and we're going into a new league. We're just going to plug and play, and everything will be just like it always has been in the Big 12.
The old, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, Bill. I'd like to also put that into the exhibit.
Okay. All right.
We're just going to be throwing them out rapid fire for everybody to build this case. Build this case. The old quarterback, if you have 2, you have none. They have none.
All right. So
we'll stink, but that's not the proclamation I'm going to make.
We will get into a lot of that this morning as we get you up and get you going here, and again let you listen to a lot of what Shane Beamer had to say yesterday. We'll let you listen to a couple of what the players had to say. Nick Harbor as well on his development. Kind of interesting to hear from him. Now, as I was asked this yesterday, does he now all of a sudden vault to wide receiver 1? And I was like, I don't. No, I still have very limited expectations for him on what he's doing. I still look at the wide receiver group as if they can get by the way, tonight, good news, we get our first injury report of the week. Get fired up for that. But no, I still consider Jared Brown, if he's healthy. Gage Larvindan is coming on. Mazio Bennett, I think, is doing really good things. I still personally wish Vandravius Jacobs, who's just a redshirt freshman, would become more involved in the offense. Those are still the 4 guys to me. But do you disagree with anything on that with Nick Harver?
I don't know if I disagree, but I did listen to Nick speak yesterday, and he referred to himself as number 8. And I don't know what that does for his – I don't know what that means for whether he's wide receiver 1 or what, but he did refer to himself as number 8. So you can take that for what it's worth.
So at least the confidence,
I guess,
is rising. As you've always said, the confidence is rising that to a prima donna wide receiver. The confidence is at least getting there.
He's getting there.
It's good to know. Baseball last night, Yankees take a 2-game lead, Preston, and the Dodgers and the Mets 1-1 right now. They're back at City Trust later on today, and we'll maybe just make mention of that later on. But the Yankees 2-0, I got into that. I watched a good bit of it last night. We're creeping. We're working our way, if you will, toward, again, Preston, that dream matchup. And I felt like last night as I was watching this game, Major League Baseball knows what they're doing. First time, way to get it correct. They didn't promote the World Series. They promoted the playoffs, but they only showed 2 players back and forth. You want to guess who those 2 players back and forth were? One highlight clip onto the next highlight clip of the other guy. Home runs from both. You want to guess who was highlighted specifically?
Aaron Judge and my guy.
You are exactly
My
right.
guy, Otani.
Good job, Major League Baseball. They weren't hyping the World Series. It was just the playoffs, but it was only there was no other players shown in the highlight. It was Otani and Judge, and yes.
But the difference was they could show Aaron Judge hitting home runs. They could show Otani hitting home runs and stealing bases.
That actually happened.
See,
You're very
see. That's what I'm saying.
Hey,
that's why he's my
I'm
guy.
not saying it was a marketing genius move.
That's why he's my guy.
It was a baby step for Major League Baseball because you're exactly right. That's all it was. So last night Yankees 6-3 over the Guardians there in New York. They jumped out to a 3-0 lead and then kind of held on throughout that thing and end up going on to win 6-3. So a 2-0 lead. They'll meet again tomorrow. And that will be an early game in Cleveland, 5:08 first pitch, New York and Cleveland tomorrow. Former Gamecock, if you want to get into this, former Gamecock, Clark Schmidt, scheduled to take the mound for the Yankees tomorrow when they travel to Cleveland to take on the Indians. Even our good buddy Saki let me know he's from up in the Ohio, Cleveland area and letting me know it is indeed and will always be the Indians. But New York and Cleveland tonight, 8 o'clock. FS1, it'll be the Dodgers and the Mets there taking on each other. That series tied 1-1. Dodgers-Mets also, by the way, tomorrow night, Game 4 in that thing. That'll follow Yankees in Cleveland, Dodgers-Mets tomorrow night. So a little bit of baseball. I did get into a slight bit of football just because you brought it up last night. Major Applewhite. 41-year-old, 42-year-old now, Major Applewhite. South Alabama rolls over Troy 25-9 in that ballgame. It was not a night of great college football, Preston. The Tuesday night, here's some football if you want to watch it menu.
We promised that we would have 55 days of football in a row. We didn't promise that they would be good football.
Yeah, this was the leftover football from the weekend. This is the stuff that's been at the tailgate. You're not 100% sure if it's healthy or not. It was delicious on Saturday. Now you're not real sure about it. But last night, South Alabama 25-9 over Troy. If that didn't, I flipped over at one point. I was like, "What am I doing with my life?" Middle Tennessee last night 14-5 over Kent State.
Okay, 5.
You heard that correctly.
All right.
14-5 over Kent State. And then actually, and I didn't stay up to watch this. I'm just now looking at the score, but it appears the game of the night. New Mexico State 33, Louisiana Tech 30 in double overtime. But that one didn't kick off till 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's a big ask for anybody that's wanting to watch that.
If you're wanting college football again tonight, it doesn't get much better. Western Kentucky at Sam Houston.
Hold on now, Western Kentucky. Uniforms of the year.
Okay.
They was always interested.
They're on the road. They're on the road.
Okay.
So
I don't know if they're going to pull out the old Hilltopper uniforms with the mascot on there, but always an interesting uniform.
And Florida International, who wears the 305, not at Pit Bull Stadium tonight. They go out to the Sun Bowl to take on UTEP. So you do have college football tonight, as there'll be. We'll get you really going tomorrow night. Thursday night, by the way, has at least some decent matchups. Georgia State at Marshall, Boston College at Virginia Tech. So we'll get into all that. We'll let you listen to a little bit of Shane Beamer coming up next. What all he had to say yesterday. Kind of again looking back at Alabama, but moving ahead to Oklahoma. We're going to move ahead to Oklahoma now and start addressing them properly. The Sooners and this stupid little wagon that they have. And kind of. Who does this?
Tell you what, they don't pack any offense in that wagon.
Preston's going to remind you all morning. Just if you think you've been watching something that's disappointing, wait till you see this Oklahoma thunderbolt of an offense.
Be thankful for what you got. Your parents ever told you, like, kids are starving in Africa? You better be thankful for this food. That's how you should feel about our offense compared to Oklahoma's offense.
Oh, there you go. All right, well, we'll get into more of that. We may completely regret this show next Monday morning, but we're going to move forward with it. 803-404-6100. You're listening to The Early Game.
Tinker Skin Editor makes it easy for you to cut.
Just one accident to let you know about, she says, first thing this morning. Faro Road near Coon Road. So that's Faro near Coon, an accident there. 63 and kind of breezy today. That will be our high. Overnight low tomorrow or tonight, 39. Tomorrow, 65. That overnight low again, 39. And by Friday, sunny and 70. Still some kind of cooler overnights, but through the weekend, we should be in the 70s and to start off the work week. So just a couple cooler days, a little bit breezy right now. And it's a little bit chilly, 51 on the early game.
$6:17 as we get you up, get you going. Just like you're getting up to a brand new day, how about we have the brand new craft beer card. It has arrived and now only $59. That's right. You can save up to around $300. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, and purchase your brand new craft beer card today. Just $59. That's a savings of around $300. For more information, go to 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals. Preston, we kind of talked about this. We've kind of talked about it on different levels. South Carolina learning to win close games. In the past, just 10, 12 years ago, you'd be like, well, they're young. No, they're not necessarily young. 38 seniors, most in Power 5 football, Power 4 football. So not necessarily young either. But you'd be like, all right, the younger kind of guys, the redshirt freshman quarterback, the young wide receivers that we were just talking about, Mazio Bennett, Vandrevius Jacobs, even Jared Brown, who's got another year of eligibility, the young tight end in Michael Smith, the young tackles, be it Josiah Thompson or Casey Henry or Jatavius Shivers. You look at the defensive spots, and there are a few that are kind of young. You say, all right, they're learning. This is a growth process. That's not the case in college football today. You got to learn now. Last week has to be the end of the learning point. This week has to start being the point where you take the learning and you move forward with it.
Well, you know, like I said, in Thorns, Brothers, and Roses, I talked about the idea of close. Coaches keep holding on to the idea of we're close. We're just a couple of plays away. And as you stated, we don't have time for that. It's the middle of the season. We don't have time for you to be a couple plays away. You have to make those plays if you want to be successful. And I'm not saying they don't want to be, but like you pointed out, that coaches are still holding on to the old paradigm of what it used to be, and that's just not it anymore. You have to make the plays when you have the opportunities to make them. So I guess Shane was talking in the press conference about getting over the hump in close games. So let's listen to what Shane had to say here, and then we can come back and discuss it.
Yeah, I think we're extremely close. Was it 2 losses to top 10 teams by a total of 5 points? I think I'm saying that right. And we had plenty of opportunities in both those games to win it. The thing we've got to do a great job of is finishing. You know, there's a lot of things that are disappointing about those games, but probably the biggest thing for me is just that in both those games, we led going into the fourth quarter. Now, I know LSU scored on the very first play of the fourth quarter, and I think they were like on the 3-yard line, so maybe there's an asterisk next to that one. But if I'm not mistaken, Steve can tell you those are the first 2 times in my time as the head coach that we've ever lost a game that we led going into the fourth quarter, and it's happened twice now. So we've got to finish. How do we finish? We play cleaner football, and we can look back at Saturday in Tuscaloosa And there's so many opportunities on all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams, that we had opportunities to finish that game and not even let it get to a final drive. And a lot of those things are, self-inflicted, whether it be penalties, turnovers, you name it. So we got to you guys know I'm a big fan of Mike Tomlin, and somebody sent me his clip at halftime of I think it was the Cowboys game a couple weeks ago in his post-game interview, where they asked him what he got to do in the second half, and he said something along the lines of, we got to quit kicking our own butt before we worry about kicking somebody else's. And we've had a lot of that this year, and we've got to just continue to be better and grow and learn and get better each and every week. And I see a lot of signs of that. So to answer your question, I think we're extremely close, but we also know that the margin for error in this league especially is extremely small.
Obviously, the turnover by Lenora Sellers, the big fumble, not the interception at the very end of the game, but the big fumble that opened the door for Alabama. Plus, there was a holding call late in that game that really set South Carolina back that we were laughing about yesterday off air. But, Preston, somebody finally, I think, did what you wanted them to do. Follow-up question. How do you fix penalties in terms of what do they got to do? How do you go about fixing this? And here is Shane Beamer yesterday. We'll let you listen to a little bit, again, a longer clip, but we'll get these two in, and then we'll come back and discuss them. Here is Shane. We were talking about fixing penalties and turnovers.
I would hope it's something that can get cleaned up. We had 6, but I'm still disappointed because 3 of those were pre-snap. We had Alabama's defense got up there and yelled, "Move," like a lot of teams do, and we jumped. And then we had another pre-snap penalty where we were going to send the tight end in motion, and the receiver started to go in motion before the tight end went in motion. That was a pre-snap penalty as well. So, and then we got flagged. Don't get me started. We got flagged for delay of game on defense, and that to me is a pre-snap penalty. So we got to get those cleaned up. I can live with some of the penalties. It's the pre-snap ones that are maddening. So we've got to continue to emphasize that and be better. And, I know, and the turnovers, look, you're not going to win games, and I said this after the game, and it's true, you're not going to win games in the SEC on the road at home if you're turning the ball over 4 times. But, also, I don't want to, overreact either. Like the two that are extremely disappointing are the fact that we've had 2 fumbled exchanges between quarterbacks and running backs 2 weeks in a row. Like that's something you better get fixed in the next 3 or 4 days because this group we're about to play is really disruptive, and it cost us against LSU and it cost us against Bama. So that's something that we really tried to really be even better at coaching today in practice when we had that 7-minute period where all we work is just quarterback and running back exchanges, But then also one of the turnovers was a 4th down play where they knocked the ball out of Josh's hands when we were short of the 1st down anyway. One of the turnovers was obviously the interception at the end of the game. So too many, don't get me wrong, but you also look at it and say, okay, turnovers are going to happen. We're really opportunistic defensively. We got to continue to be, but we also got to make sure that we don't hurt ourselves more than necessary offensively, for sure.
Lot there in those 2 comments. So let's start with you and any statistics you want to throw out there.
I just want to go back to the patent pending STP stupid rating from the early game, our analytic that has debuted. He talked about it. S being sacks, he didn't mention that, but turnovers and penalties, he gave an extensive breakdown on the penalties, 6 penalties for 49 yards. And the pre-snap penalties, I understand, as he stated, the pre-snap penalties, you don't want to have those. Some things that happen in the game, they may happen, but you have to get those cleaned up, and those start during the week of practice. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Pre-snap penalties shouldn't happen, and then also the holding penalties, you have to take care of those during the week. So penalties, I don't think this team is good enough to win committing this mental penalties.
Go back to your days. Lou Holtz, I think it's interesting, again, when you kind of go through the last 4 coaches, the last 24 years. Lou Holtz, it feels like, was a disciplinarian, a real stickler for penalties. Steve Spurrier, I'm just going with his personality. It's kind of like, okay. And then you go to Will Muschamp, who seems like, again, a stickler for, again, we always laughed. Will Muschamp, I think, wanted to practice 7 days a week and didn't want to play any games. Mm-hmm. It was just all fundamental. And now you got Shane Beamer, who, again, I think is more Steve Spurrier than he is Holtz. and Muschamp. How would Holtz go about with if there was a game with excessive penalties trying to fix them?
Well, yeah, you can't have the penalties. So I mean, I know you can't do this.
Or are they even fixable? Is it even really fixable? Or is that just who they are?
That's a good question. You, as a coach, you have to believe it's fixable because that's your job. What you don't want to think that's just who we are. We have to accept it. See, no, they have to be able to fix those things. And it starts with when those things happen in practice, you are addressing them, and either the player gets punished by not getting playing time, missing snaps, doing whatever you do to reconcile that, but it has to be addressed and recognized. So, for instance, the quarterback exchange. If you're doing it for 7 minutes, if somebody bobbles the ball, instead of saying, all right, on to the next one, we got to get that right. No, you stop them, handle it however those things are handled within that program, and before you move forward, you get it taken care of. Can
you do that this week, or is that something that has to be refocused? You get a bye week coming up after this week. People need to remember that. We just had, it feels like just a week ago we had that bye week, but now you go through this 3-game stretch. You're 0-2. You need to win this one really going into the bye week. But is that something that you can break down and fix? They don't practice on Monday. They come back on Tuesday. They practice Sunday night, take Monday off, practice Tuesday. But you're so into game planning, you don't have time to take. And 30 minutes of practice isn't going to fix it, is it?
You don't have time not to take it. It doesn't matter what your game plan is. You can have the greatest game plan in the world, but if you can't do a simple quarterback, running back,
that's a good point.
Exchange, it doesn't matter what else you do. And I think that might be a lot of times that what coaches get into is like, we got to get this game plan stuff in. We got to do all the fancy bells and whistles. It don't matter. If your quarterback cannot guarantee that 99% of the time this is going to be a clean, safe exchange, it doesn't matter what plays you have in.
I'm going to play this little game with you. Go ahead and throw it out. We'll come back to it in a little while too. But all right. I'm going to give you 2 bowl opportunities because getting bowl eligible is part of this. Now, unfortunately, South Carolina's kind of worked their way out of your Las Vegas Bowl.
Dang it.
But right now, I offer you the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa prior to Christmas, or I offer you the Birmingham Bowl on December 27th. Where do you start leaning right now?
Decline both.
No, you got to get a bowl. You got to get a bowl. You can't decline.
Can't decline.
Want a better one.
Yeah, got to win.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say this. Let's
I'll pick the bowl first, and then I'm going to give you the opponents.
Let's go to Tampa and help rebuild the economy.
I love that.
There we go.
Okay,
bring some dollars to Tampa.
Now, who would you rather face? Boston College and old Bill O'Brien, or Mr. Row the Boat himself, PJ Fleck?
Give me PJ Fleck, man. Let's get him. Let's get him out of here.
Well, we'd be going to the Birmingham Bowl.
Oh, man.
Protective Stadium. I just stayed about 3 blocks from there this past weekend. So, but to get to a bowl game, and we'll get to this in a little while more, you really need to win this one, and you need to fix those penalties and turnovers. 803-404-6100.
But let me say this. If you think we've been bad on offense, there's worse. I just want to tell you.
Just for the record, Mark Schlabach has Oklahoma Army in the Birmingham Bowl. You might have your Spider-Man meme going here again. There's your ESPN bowl projections right now. Schlabach has Boston College, South Carolina in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. I knew I was going to be able to get to the end of that. 803-404-6100 is the early game.
They say the perfection is a journey, and that journey led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. We renovated a bathroom and had to replace the cabinetry, and of course that meant kind of needed a countertop, and we were referred to Carolina Stone Craftsman. I'm telling you, we were really impressed. Felt at home right away. Toured their fabulous showroom. Learn more about their commitment to offering affordable marble, granite, and quartz, and how it's all sculpted with the highest craftsmanship and delivered with professional results, and they certainly did. There was so much to choose from. They were really very helpful in us figuring out what exactly we wanted. We weren't experts. We needed help. From the home visit to the installation, the entire process was flawless, and I am so thrilled with the end result. And I encourage you, if you are in the market for countertops for your kitchen or your bath, do reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. And of course, we tell them Jen Jensen sent you. Family owned and operated Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia in Chapin and beyond your expectations. Faro Road near Coon Road. There is an accident there, slowing things down just a little bit. No other tie-ups to speak of. We haven't really gotten any reports of any other major slowdowns, so hopefully it stays that way for you. Good Wednesday morning. 63 is what the high will be today. Overnight low of 39, 65 tomorrow. Again, 39 for that overnight low. And then we start the trend into the 70s on Friday, but we do have a cooler start this morning, a little bit breezy. It is 51 on the early game.
.34 as we roll along on a Wednesday morning. We'll get back into some football discussion there. Preston's got a proclamation. He's hinting at it. He's poking at it.
Just real quick, let me just, I am poking at it, but I just want to read a headline from an Oklahoma newspaper. And these are the words: anemic and embarrassing.
Okay.
In 25 years.
Okay, there you go. So we will get into more football coming up in the next hour. 7:15. Preston is ready to make a proclamation. He's ready to put it out there, and we'll get into that. Also coming up this morning at about 8:15, Perry Orth will join us to give us his take on what he's seen from Lenora Sellers and his development through the first half of the season. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. Yesterday, they really got into some preseason hoops. Now, Preston, 3 weeks from yesterday, it'll be 3 weeks from this week, South Carolina will get the college basketball season going. It'll be a big opening night that'll get going on Monday. I said yesterday, 3 weeks from Monday, November the 4th, you'll have the opening of the college basketball season. The Gamecocks will host North Florida that night, and we'll get to see what is both a new-look Gamecock team but an established Gamecock team. I'm trying to figure out how to word it because yesterday Lamont Paris talked about his team and talked about he is who he is and they are who they are. Here is Lamont Paris yesterday at SEC Media Days talking about his basketball team and who he is.
I've been doing this for a long time. Maybe particularly down here in the Southeast, my name's not sexy. But I went to the College of Worcester. People don't know how to pronounce the name of the university. So it's just, I am who I am. I'm very comfortable with who I am. That kind of was our mantra last year. There was a couple of things. One was earn it. They made that up themselves in the preseason that they wanted to earn it. I feel like they did. But the other thing that they always said, I didn't tell them, was we are who we are, we do what we do. And that's not going to change. I am who I am. I like the guys that I like, and we develop guys the way that we do. And hopefully we rely on the fact that, there's probably a couple teams that wish we didn't have to play the games based on where they're picked. We rely on the fact that we get to play the games to show that maybe the picks just aren't that accurate. But we're looking forward to getting a chance to try to prove that.
He was picked, or they were picked, Preston, 11th this year. Last year they were picked dead last. We know how that made Lamont Paris feel. He was not thrilled with that at all. He went into one of the most analytical breakdowns of being picked how do we want to describe the most analytical breakdowns of how we arrive at preseason projections?
He had the numbers. He's like, you see, if the last 40% of the teams who were picked in the bottom quartile have finished at the top quartile, see, and come to find out he was actually right.
He was all over it. This year, South Carolina picked 11th. I think that's fair. I think that's fair, and I only think it's fair because really, this league, you can throw a bunch of teams into a pile and pull them out right now and be like, oh, okay, yeah, they're probably 6. Oh, okay, they're probably like, honestly, and because I truthfully don't know what Arkansas is about to be with John Calipari, maybe you can even throw 4 through 11 or 12 into that mix. And that would be Arkansas, A&M, Florida, Texas, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Georgia. I might even throw Missouri in there. To me, Alabama is really good. Auburn's going to be really good. Tennessee's going to be really good. And after that, I don't know. Throw a team in a hat, pull them out, and if you tell me they're 4 or you tell me they're 13, I'm like, yeah, sounds fine.
Yeah, so what it seems to me is now that basketball is going back to a space where it's more about the coaches. More about the coaches, more about the coaches system, because the players are always rotating and moving around and doing different things. And so if the coaches have a system, and I'm not even talking about culture-wise, I'm just saying systemically, the things that coaches do seems to be more and more important in college basketball now than maybe it's been in a long time.
Yeah, part of it is get your guys in there and hope that they gel. We saw that with Arkansas 2 years ago where Arkansas looked pretty good. Last year, Arkansas was absolutely brutal. Eric Musselman is out now. John Calipari is in. Again, yes, they brought in some really good transfers. They've got some really nice players, but they're picked 16th. But that's the thing. There is, as much as we don't know, this is kind of funny, as much as we don't know about college football and everybody gets upset about preseason polls, college basketball preseason polls are absolutely ridiculous because, number one, in all seriousness, outside of a few, Jeff Barzillo, who we have on this program, Jeff Goodman is another guy. There's a couple that really cover college basketball. It's not like college football. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, did you know basketball starts tonight? It doesn't, November 4th, but you get the point. Like, there are people like, hey, I was totally unaware of this, but college basketball is about to get going. So they're like, oh, we need a top 25. Kansas, all right, well, Duke, Connecticut's won a couple. Put them in there. I'm sure North Carolina's going to be pretty good. Throw them in there. Kentucky, we don't even know who's coaching. For example, your top 5 right now. Kansas, Alabama's 2, Connecticut's 3, Houston's 4, and Iowa State is 5. Gonzaga, Duke, Baylor, North Carolina, and Arizona round out your top 10.
So without looking at in the SEC, because I'm not looking at the list, I'm assuming it's Alabama, Auburn,
Tennessee.
National
rankings have Alabama at 2, Auburn at 11, Tennessee at 12, A&M at 13. That's your top 4 teams.
All right.
And then Arkansas is 16 on that list. Texas is 19. Florida is 21. Kentucky is 23. Mississippi is 24. So that's your list. And I'm not, because South Carolina is an unknown commodity. They are in basketball. South Carolina didn't even get votes in the top 25. Probably understandable. Maybe understandable, but you look at this team, and I'm excited to see them. And you look at the schedule that they're going to have, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see them develop. The thing that sucks, for lack of a better word, that early season prime time, and it's not prime time, but the early season big game, you go up to Indiana. Indiana 17th in the country. It's going to be Saturday at 3 o'clock. It's going to coincide with South Carolina, Missouri here at home, which a lot of people have had enough of Eli Dorkowitz, as you say. More people will probably be focused on that football game than what is a huge basketball game.
Well, or it might offer you an alternative. If that thing's going the wrong way, you can be like, you know what? I'm going to get my South Carolina field somewhere else.
Okay.
So maybe that'll be, or you can get double. We'll see. Split screen. We can find a way.
And if you're just tuning in and you didn't hear it, Preston, you and I have talked about this. We're going to play this. This is Lamont Paris on his quarter zip lifestyle. It's fun to watch a coach embrace himself. And this is, he gets the big deal in the offseason. He doesn't go chasing the bag elsewhere. He gets it right here. And this is just what I feel like is Lamont Paris buying into not just who Lamont Paris is, but buying into South Carolina and who South Carolina wants him to be. This is yesterday, Lamont Paris talking about the quarter zip lifestyle.
My fashion style, while it's been non-existent my whole life, it's developed into the old quarter zip here, as you can see. I think there's a Twitter account that's got its own Twitter account, my quarter zip, and I think it is probably based on my unrelenting and unwavering commitment to the almighty quarter zip and its overall versatility as a clothing garment.
Good job, Jim. Playing through injury. It's, how do I word this? I don't want to offend anybody, but like listening to Lamont, like him embracing just that and not like running from it. Like this is Lamont Paris, I think, really growing into being South Carolina's coach, Preston Thorne.
If somebody told you that a sentence was going to include the words unrelenting and unwavering, dedication, you wouldn't think he was talking about a quarter zip.
Or clothing.
No.
Unrelenting and unwavering dedication to the almighty. To the almighty quarter zip.
He had, look, what was it? It was the Mississippi game that was kind of steamy, and he rolled out of that cockaboose, that cocky train that they've got in the quarter zip. And I think even Tony Annan, I think for the LSU game, said he was on the sideline with Lamont Paris, and even Tony Annan had to look over and be like, hey, man.
Maybe he can work on a new fashion trend where it's a quarter zip, but it's like just a more of a thinner material, not like a pullover, warmer quarter zip, but is there something he could rock that kind of like a long sleeve tee?
Yeah.
Quarter zip.
Yeah. I mean, he rocks the long sleeve. I mean, baseball has like the coaches' jackets where they kind of
they got the shorts.
The shorts. I don't know if that's in his ballpark, man.
Hey, listen, this guy's ours. We're not giving him up.
Nope.
We're not giving him up. He's ours. Wednesday, October 30th, what is that? That's 2 weeks from today. South Carolina will host Wooster College, which is Lamont's school. We'll talk about that as we get closer. We'll get into some final things as we wrap up hour number one. It's the early game. 6:49 as we get you up and get you going on your Wednesday morning. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, rolling along, talking a little football and a little basketball. Some SEC media days. By the way, last night the women's team had an exhibition on the road against Memphis. It went as most South Carolina women's basketball games go, 106-63. South Carolina participated in an exhibition for the inaugural Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic at the FedEx Forum. Joyce Edwards made her Gamecock debut and did what most McDonald's All-Americans do immediately, of course, leading the way, posting a double-double in the first half. 10 points, 10 rebounds in just 11 minutes on the court.
Okay.
So
that's okay. I'm interested.
We'll come back to this in the next hour.
Put a pin in that.
But we'll come back to this. But yes, Dawn Staley's team opens in midseason form, 106-63 last night. Exhibition win over Memphis. And again, we'll get you back to that Joyce Edwards stat line from the first half. 10 points, 10 rebounds in 11 minutes in the first half.
So is she? You think she's kind of getting the hang of it, or
She's learning. She's young. She's young. She'll improve. She'll figure it out.
Wow.
I'll give you more stats on that.
Camden's own. Make sure we say that.
Oh yeah.
Make sure we give out shout out to the locals.
Very true. Very true. Let's get out to the phone lines. Steven wants to weigh in on Gamecock football this morning. Steven, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Good morning. How y'all guys doing?
Good.
I'm gonna ask a question because this morning, which I do every morning, reading Gamecock Sports. I don't know if it's truth or not, but they had an article saying that the fans are asking for Shane Beamer's buyout, and I was wondering if y'all hear anything about that.
Thank you for the phone call. No.
Yeah, no, a fan somewhere at some time might be, but I don't think that's the consensus. At least not the feeling I get. It's not a consensus.
No, I'd be honest. We've done now almost 7 hours of radio this week. Not a single person has. Yeah. We've done 7 hours, and I haven't seen that anywhere on social media. So no, that's inaccurate. It's all right. 803-404-6100. Thank you for the phone call, Stephen. We got a bench cut start based on quarter zip lifestyle.
Yeah, well, we're going with the quarter zip lifestyle, and I noticed something this weekend as I was watching this game. I'm prone to take sight of some things that are happening off the field. I noticed Shane was wearing a crew neck. A regular sweatshirt. Didn't have a collar. No collar shirt.
Okay.
He was wearing a regular sweatshirt with a crew neck. Nice. It looked classy. It looked clean. It looked simple. And your man on the other sideline had on a hoodie. Kalen DeBoer had on a hoodie. So here's the start bench cut for today. The weather's getting a little bit cooler. You might have to grab something to protect yourself as you go out into the elements. Start bench cut. Do you want Lamont's quarter zip? You want Kalen's hoodie, or do you want Shane's crew neck? Start bench cut. Quarter zip, hoodie, crew neck. What you got? The weather's getting lit.
Hey, it was more of a T-shirt crew neck, or a T-shirt hoodie, not a full-on hoodie, was it?
Who? Kalen's?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hoodie.
Oh, it was more sweatshirt hoodie.
It was hoodie, I believe. Yeah, if I look at the picture, it was. I think it was more hoodie.
Okay.
So he went away from the T-shirt because obviously the fans didn't like that, but he didn't go full collared shirt. But neither did Shane. Shane usually has a collared shirt on, but this particular game he was wearing a crew neck. So the question is: start bench cut, quarter zip, crew neck, hoodie, as the weather cools.
All right, I'm looking at the
803-404-6100.
I'm looking at the Kalen DeBoer. I feel like I wear a lot of the shirts with the hoods on them. I feel like it was a thinner material. I actually have one that looks about similar that has the South Carolina golf kind of swinging cocky little emblem on it. I have to go back and look at Shane's, but I can just tell you from my wardrobe, and you've seen this, I right now have a quarter zip sweater on. I'd have to go with the quarter zip. Then I'd have to go with the hoodie. And that's a close one. So start the quarter zip. My closet would suggest that. Bench the hoodie and cut the crew neck.
Okay. You said start the quarter zip, bench the hoodie, cut the crew neck.
And that hoodie is ready to come off the bench when there's even the slightest hint of issues.
As pictured yesterday, if you saw the social account, we had a picture of you bundle up in here.
Oh, did we?
Yes, we had you bundle up. I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna cut the quarter zip, get it out of here, bench the hoodie, and start the crew neck.
Wow, didn't see that one coming.
I think some people can pull off the crew neck, some can't. Some need more around their collar. So
yeah, because then you get into mock necks and roll necks and turtlenecks. That's a whole nother analytical conversation we're not ready for yet. But just starting now, I'm gonna go with the crew neck, cut the quarter zip, bench the hoodie.
Yeah, by the way, that hoodie was a full-on sweatshirt yesterday. That wasn't like the little T-shirt like I have the
no, it was a
fishing
full-on
hook shirts.
sweatshirt. That's why I was making fun of you.
Yes, and we're already messing with thermostats now throughout the building, trying to figure out which one this morning.
But the defining characteristic of a hoodie is a hood, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's a hoodie.
Yeah. Now, quarter zip. I'm with Coach Paris on this.
Let us know
Paris.
what you got. Weather's getting cooler.
I want to
Start
talk
bench
about the
cut.
zipper itself and issues with that.
We'll get into it.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, it's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, or they'll work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. Yes, they will come out to wherever you are. Doesn't matter whether you're at school, home, work, Absolute Glass will take care of it for you. Now, if you are at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Looks like earlier incidences that we were mentioning have been cleared, so not looking at any big slowdowns this morning. 63 for a high today, 65 tomorrow, but the overnight low tonight and tomorrow night, 39. So going to want to bundle up in the morning hours. Come Friday, it'll be 70, and we keep going up into the mid to upper 70s, really through about Tuesday. So welcoming that, but it is a little bit cooler this morning. Again, kind of breezy, and it's 51 on the early game.
Seven a.m. Get up, get moving, get the kids to school. A little dark out there, yep. We are transitioning into those later fall days where it's quite chilly in the evening. Maybe a good bonfire weather. I think yesterday afternoon would have been a nice little fire pit afternoon outside weather, getting ready for the Major League Baseball playoffs. Yankees and Guardians last night. Yankees win 6-3, take a 2-0 series lead in that. Tonight, you can watch a little college football if that's your kind of thing. Western Kentucky playing tonight, Florida International and UTEP.
Hilltoppers.
You got a little Hilltopper bandwagon thing going on.
Man, they just got the coolest uniforms. I don't know how you've missed these. Last year they had at each position group, they had different helmets for each position group with the mascot on it. This year they just had the eyes. They just got cool stuff going. Listen, they know what's going on. It's like, listen, man, we're Western Kentucky. Let's do something.
Got to do something.
And I'm with it.
Do something to stand out. And, tonight, Western Kentucky will take on Sam Houston. Unfortunately, that's a road game, so they'll have to break out something really cool for the road game for the road whites out there. But you got that in Florida International and UTEP, and then tonight you've got Dodgers and Mets. Game 3 of that series currently tied 1-1. We've been talking a lot of football and basketball this morning. SEC Media Days taking place. I think it's 2 days. I believe it's 2 days today. By the way. I believe today. Oh, I'm getting a picture of the. Oh, I've seen the red grimace.
Yeah, Big Red, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
I've seen Big Red grimace there, but yeah. So Preston showing me the Hilltopper mascot, which is either you're one of those people. It's either terrifying or it's lovable.
He's very active. He's very, very active.
Yeah. So yesterday though was SEC Media Day. For the men's side, today will be SEC Media Day for the women as they take to the podium. And I'm looking to see exactly when Dawn Staley has got to be in Nashville. Is this in Nashville, by the way? I don't know why. All of a sudden, it might be in Birmingham. It is in Birmingham. Birmingham and Nashville is where the men's basketball tournament will wrap up. But last night, again, as we mentioned, and we'll get more into it, Dawn Staley's team knocking off Memphis 106-63 in exhibition. Dawn Staley speaking at 3:30 today. That is going to be Eastern time, 3:50 today for Dawn Staley speaking at SEC Women's Media Day, as Media Days yesterday and today wrap up over there. We've also been talking football. South Carolina getting ready for Oklahoma now. The attention turns to that. Preston Thorne's got a big proclamation coming up in the next segment that he is ready to put out there and have you just follow right along. But one of the things that is leading him to this proclamation is the Oklahoma offense, which, as you've pointed out, you've used different words to describe.
I didn't use these words. This is not my words.
Well, I'm sorry, you've repeated different. Yeah, go ahead.
This is not my words.
All right.
These were Oklahoma reporting words. The words were anemic, embarrassing in the last 25 years. These are not my words. These are just words that were used to describe the offense. And I will just add some additional statistics to support those words.
Okay.
Not my words.
All right.
It's not my words.
Go ahead.
That's all.
We're waiting. We're waiting for the statistics.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I just want to say. Well, I mean, we don't have to wait for the statistics. So I could throw out one really quickly, and I'll just give you 128th out of 134, and that would be the yards per play that the offense has had. 128th out of 134. That's just one.
Let's listen real quick, then we'll come back to this. I'll tell you what, we'll do this. Let's listen.
Hold on. I want you to hear that number, 128th out of 134. I want you to hear this number, 125th out of 134. That's the yards per game. I want you to hear another number, 122nd in yards per passing play. 122nd, 125th, 128th out of 134. I want you to hear those numbers and then listen to what Shane has to say about their offense. So let's see if they match up.
All right. Well,
let's just see if they match up. Let's see if Shane. Let's see if Shane's telling us the truth.
I haven't heard it. But all I'm going to say is we're going to do. Let's see if they match up. But also, scale of 1 to 5. How close is Shane Beamer right now promoting? I can only imagine is promoting Oklahoma's offense. How close is Shane Beamer to Lou Holtz-esque?
Let's see. Let's see what Shane says.
Here's Shane Beamer on Michael Hawkins and the Oklahoma offense.
When you look at it, Jackson Arnold, the previous quarterback, did a lot of really good things this year. You watch his tape, and he made some big-time throws, and is a good athlete. And then you watch with Michael, the new quarterback, he's able to make throws, and obviously he brings an athletic element to the position, being able to run as well. So it's a challenge when you face a running quarterback that can improvise and get out of the pocket and make plays. And they've lost some receivers, some of their bigger receivers size-wise. This group they have, though, is still talented, though. They're twitchy. They're athletic. They can make people miss. They're really athletic at tight end and can run, and they rely on those two guys a lot as well. So they present a lot of problems, one, personnel-wise and the uncertainty of some things, but two, they've got, it's Oklahoma. They haven't lacked for, really good recruiting classes, and I don't think anybody said that Oklahoma's ever not been talented. So, yes, they've had some injuries, but they're an extremely talented and well-coached football team on all three phases.
They haven't had some injuries. Their whole wide receiving core has been decimated. They've had 5 injuries go down, so they do not have any wide receivers. They do not have anything. Yes, they are Oklahoma, yes, because that's the school that they're currently playing for. But aside from that, that means nothing. It means nothing. I can only go by the numbers that are presented here from you. And when Shane says that they've made some throws, emphasis on some. They have only had 13 plays all season that have gone 20-plus yards. You know what that ranks them? 133rd out of 134. So when he says they've made some throws, yes, they've made 13 plays over 20 yards. The offense stinks.
Oh, wait till I tell them what occurred yesterday.
Did they become less anemic? Did they get better on offense?
Were they transfused?
One of Preston's favorite team activities took place at Oklahoma on Sunday.
Did they have a team meeting?
Not a team meeting.
An offensive team meeting?
Well,
because I'm gonna tell you how that works.
What's the proper? You love these. A players only meeting took place
with the offense and the defense.
It's
or just the offense. Because I'm gonna tell you, if there was a defensive player sitting in that offense room and the offense is talking about, "Come on, guys, let's get it together," but no, y'all get it together. Y'all are the ones that are terrible. You are the one who hasn't ran for 100 yards yet.
Oklahoma football players held a players-only meeting.
Brother, mark it down. Take it to the bank. South Carolina to the moon.
Oklahoma football players held a players-only meeting the day after the team's loss to Texas in the Red River rivalry. According to defensive tackle Grayson Halton, we've got to get right.
No, he meant they got to get right. We're playing as good as we can. Y'all are terrible. In fact, they're so bad, Bill, they have not had a player rush for 100 yards all year. Now, as I was looking up the statistic, I had to tread lightly because I didn't know if we had 100 players that rush a yard, but we have. Okay. So that's why I can say all these things. They haven't had a player to rush for 100 yards all year, nor have they had either one of their quarterbacks, all two of them, neither of them have thrown for over 200 yards all year. So I don't want to hear this conversation about they can make some throws and they're athletic. No, they've been garbage all year. And if I was a defensive player in that meeting, if one of those offensive dudes stood up and said something about accountability or let's go, guys, or you get out of this meeting now. You all stink. All of them. And the injured guys.
A couple of the players speaking. Danny Stutzman.
It better not have been an offensive player.
Actually, no. At least the people who spoke to the media were all defensive players.
Yeah.
Danny Stutzman, senior linebacker, said that there's 1,000 excuses you can make. But there's only so many opportunities you're going to have.
There's 11 excuses on the offensive side of the ball every single play. They're terrible.
The one thing that concerns me is sometimes it seems like Preston just can't quite articulate his thoughts, or he just isn't quite confident in what he's thinking.
It's frustrating. When you hear, let me give you another number, Bill. How about 129 out of 134? That's the Oklahoma Sooners' third down percentage conversion rate. 129 out of 134. There's no scenario where that is good, passable, or even worth talking about. Wow. They're terrible.
Well, all right, quick game here. Then we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break. Then Preston, who is we've pushed him almost far enough. We got to let him cool down to get ready for the next segment. Who said this? Because it's either going to be Brent Venables or it's going to be a coach he used to work for, and it might have come straight out of that coach's playbook. At the end of the day, we've got to have courage. True courage is giving it all you've got, regardless of the outcome. You put everything you've got into it. Don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Okay. Yeah.
Did he text Dabo? Did Brent Venables text Dabo for words of encouragement to use on his weekly radio program Monday night?
No, because Dabo's never been this terrible on offense before.
David Dabo's like, I don't know how to help you, man.
I don't know what to do, man. This is terrible.
Throw it up to T. Higgins.
Do something. They stink.
Oh, you don't have a T. Higgins? I don't know what to tell you then.
They stink. P-U. Not O-U.
Oh, not P-U. There you go.
Mm-hmm. P-U. Hold your nose.
If you're wondering what this proclamation is about to be, we come back, be prepared for a very fired up, a very energetic.
Bill, all I'm saying is they're 118th out of 134 in passing yards per game. I haven't repeated any statistics. These are all uniquely terrible statistics for this really atrocious offense. Anemic. Embarrassing. Not my words.
803-404-6100. Preston Thorne really cuts loose next. As we said, sometimes he doesn't know how to articulate. He doesn't get fired up enough in the morning. We'll turn him loose when we come back. It's the early game.
Bluff Road at McCord's Ferry Road, do have a report of an accident there, and seeing a report, Platte Springs Road near South Lake Drive right there at Backman Avenue. Be careful, please. 63 for our high today, 65 tomorrow. Those overnight lows both nights of 39, and then start warming up a little bit come Friday, 70 for the high. We get into the mid-70s for the remainder of the weekend, but it's breezy right now and a little bit cool, 51 on the early game.
Going into the year, I think, I said that at some point in time that I felt they were one of the more undervalued teams, looking at the teams that were on our schedule based on what they had coming back, what they had recruited, where they were as a football team coming out of the spring. And then I know they had a rough start in their opener against ODU, but other than that, and they've played really well. They went on a year ago. They weren't great on the road in 2 games this year at both Kentucky and at University of Alabama. They gave themselves a chance to win. They got after Kentucky really good. Played a good Kentucky team, a Kentucky team that beat Ole Miss 2 weeks ago and also took Georgia all the way to the wire. Should have won that game, 1-point game against the University of Georgia. And I know Kentucky feels going into this year they have a really good team. So Shane's done a really good job. Their staff, they've done a really good job.
That was Brent Venables sizing up South Carolina. Look, one thing about this, South Carolina has not exactly been a juggernaut on the road under Shane Beamer. 2 wins against Kentucky, 1 win against Vanderbilt. A couple close calls in there. He did mention Georgia and obviously last week against Alabama. But this isn't a juggernaut. But Preston Thorne, you've looked at the numbers. You've broke them down. You've done film review. You have done all the studying, and you are ready to make I don't know if it's a massive, but a very big proclamation here.
Yeah, I got a little emotional last segment, and for that I apologize. It just gets me fired up.
People loved it.
It just gets me fired up when I don't hear what people are saying when it doesn't agree with reality. I deal in reality, and these numbers say that Oklahoma stinks on offense.
Okay.
They are terrible, and I'll give you all the numbers again in a minute. But my proclamation is this. This is the biggest game of Shane's career.
Oh. All right.
This game is huge, and we try to do this every week. And I will find a creative way to make this the biggest game of Shane's career. But let me tell you why this is the next biggest game of Shane's career. This is the first game in the SEC that Shane should win. Not could win.
Well,
that he should win. This year?
This year.
Whether it's through we could have won the Kentucky game, but it was a toss-up, 50-50. LSU underdogs. Alabama underdogs. This game against Oklahoma, and I don't care what Vegas says. I don't care what they say. Because
it's the closest spread of the year.
This is the first game that Shane and company should walk into Norman, Oklahoma, and walk out with a victory, maybe by more than a touchdown. Because by any metric, this Oklahoma offense is terrible, and our defense is the backbone of this team. And so here I am making this proclamation that this is not the week where we say, oh, we came close, or, oh, we were just almost the Oklahoma. No, Oklahoma's not tough. They are terrible. And let me give these statistics in a succinct way again. Remember, these are out of 134 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 134 teams, they are 133rd in what this publication considered explosive plays. That's plays of 20-plus yards. They've only had 13 of them. They have yet to have a single player rush for 100 yards or have a player throw for 200 yards. They absolutely stink. That was my note. That's an editorial. Yards per play, they are 128th in the country. Third down conversions, they are 129th in the country. Yards per rush, they're 105th in the country. Red zone conversions, 101st in the country. Yards per pass, 122nd in the country. Passing yards per game, 118th in the country. There is no metric in which this Oklahoma team is any good at playing offense. And this is the first game where Shane Beamer and the Carolina Gamecocks should win in the SEC. And if they have any goals...
You mean this year?
This year.
Yeah, only this year.
Well, we don't care about last year because this is the most
that's right.
important year. If they have any goals of making a bowl or becoming a program that they think they are, this game is an absolute must-win. Absolute must-win more than any other game on the schedule this year. They have to go into Oklahoma and win this game.
We talked, you and I and Terry Ford yesterday off air talked a little bit about this too. And there's a lot of discussion. Well, Oklahoma's got a good offense. Oklahoma's defense is pretty good. That's what holds them up. Oklahoma's offense is not good at all. I'm comparing the Oklahoma-Auburn game and the South Carolina-Oklahoma game. Somehow, some way, Peyton Thorne threw for 338 yards.
It was ridiculous. I can't believe I watched that game. I think it was just because it was my cousin.
We did hear a lot of that yesterday.
Yeah, cousin. I can't believe I watched that game.
If you followed Auburn this year, I know it's Hugh Freeze, but Auburn is not an offensive juggernaut either. Like they are not very good. They're throwing it to anybody but their on wide receivers. They in that game ran for a number very familiar to South Carolina, 43 carries for 144 yards in that game against Oklahoma. Oklahoma in that game had two rushers. Michael Hawkins Jr., the quarterback, ran 14 times for 69 yards. Javonte Barnes, an actual running back, ran 18 times for 61 yards. They had 32 rushes to just 15 passes. Auburn, on the other hand, ran a grand total of 75 plays, 32 passes, 43 rushes. You're right. I didn't think Oklahoma would be very good at the beginning of the season. I thought they'd be a little bit better than this, but I didn't think they'd be. I thought Jackson Arnold would be better. And he's not even playing quarterback. But I picked, when we were in Darlington, South Carolina to go on the road to Oklahoma and win this football game. Is it a must-win? Alan points out what we'll do if they win or lose. Next week against Texas A&M will be the most important game of Shane Beamer's career.
Congratulations, because he'll be coming off of there. We don't want to lose the streak, but we're not there yet. And thank you for listening to the show.
Vanderbilt, guess what, on November 9th? Well, you get the point. Missouri.
We got a streak that we need to continue.
Missouri on the
Eli Dorkowitz. We got it.
Is Missouri this? Yeah, Missouri's the 16th, and we can't lose to that guy again. So guess what that'll end up being. So you see, you play the game well, Alan. You get the show. This is a really big one. You can pick up the Oklahoma name brand. And by the way, Oklahoma's 4-2. This is what I just want to go. Danny Stutzman, linebacker, coming out of that team, that players only meeting.
Who, by the way, he wears a neck roll, and that gets on my nerves. I don't like it.
He points out, he says, we're 4-2, not 2-4. We still have half the season in front of us. I think if you have that type of mindset where you've already given up now, then I don't want you on this team because I still have a lot to play for. I'm only here for a few more months, and I've still got a lot that I want to accomplish. That's linebacker, neck roll wearer, Danny Stutzman.
That all tracks. He wears a neck roll because he wants to be seen. He wants people to, oh, look at that guy wearing a neck roll. I hear a lot of I in that conversation there, Danny. A lot of I. What happened to we? A lot of I. I have a lot to play for. And you know what? That's exactly what he said in the team meeting. He said, I got a lot to play for. I've been playing my butt off, and you, as he pointed to all of the offensive guys on the other side, you all stink. That's exactly what happened. And they do stink. There's no metric that proves any other way. Say it, Bill. There's no more important game than this one all season because we are supposed to win this game. Hands down. Period.
Well, and it's like I said, Oklahoma is right now going through the motions of living on the Oklahoma name.
Yes.
Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, even throw in Jalen Hurts. They aren't walking Dylan Gabriel, they aren't walking through that door at that facility this week to pick them up. You are right. Factually true. If you're unaware, Oklahoma's wide receiving group is decimated.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Legit.
like decimated. Their offensive line, which we knew going into the season, they'd lost all 5 starters. They went into the transfer portal, picked up a couple dudes that were like hanging out that were still looking to play ball. They were down at the YMCA. Like, the roster management going into the season is what I kept asking. Like, you looked at Texas and you were like, all right, you guys got some quarterbacks there, and old Deputy Ewers and Arch Manning. You guys got a few, you got some playmakers. They stole Isaiah Bond or took Isaiah Bond from Alabama. And you looked at Texas and you're like, all right, you guys have wandered through the wilderness for a long time. Somehow, some way you have worked yourself into showing up at the SEC at just the right time where you're not doing this. Oklahoma, on the other hand, had been actually pretty dominant, making a lot of college football playoffs there with the 14 playoff, winning a national championship with I believe it was Josh Heupel as quarterback, Bob Stoops. Oklahoma then somehow wandered around and found themselves in a very bad spot wandering into the SEC, and now you've seen what's kind of happened. 803-404-6100. Will wants to weigh in on the Oklahoma-South Carolina game. Will, what do you got for us this morning?
I like what Preston Thorne is saying. With those stats, that does kind of show that you suck on offense. My thing is, they seem to have a pretty decent defense. We have a pretty decent defense. I think it could be a low-scoring game, to be honest with you, because, our offense, we're okay at best right now. We need some work, but I feel like if Shane Beamer and Lenore Sellers and Nick Harbor can get that offense going, then I think South Carolina can win a couple of games. But do y'all see it being a low-scoring affair? And how do y'all see it playing out? What do y'all think Lenore Sellers needs to do to take care of this game?
Good phone call. Preston, I'll start with you, and then I'll give you a few statistics of my own here that I think, as I was trying to put them together, I think are actually pretty interesting.
All right, let me back off my ledge a little bit. Let me calm down.
Settle down just a tad. Okay. Although nobody likes. I tell you what, let's do this. We got about a minute and a half, and I want to get back into some of these drives because there's something here that I want to point out to you and get your opinion on, and we'll give you a second to breathe, wander around the hallway.
So you're saying I got the commercial break to breathe?
Yeah.
So before the commercial break, let me say this.
Get one go one more time.
Do we want to be the first team that Oklahoma beats in the SEC? Is that what? Do we want our claim to be the only team that they've beaten in the SEC?
Well, they got one other win.
Who?
Auburn. Remember, they did win that game.
Oh, Auburn doesn't count.
Okay, we're not counting Auburn anymore. Sorry, Auburn. You're no longer any good either. So yeah, we'll do that. But
I think SEC Shorts even confirmed that.
They're on a roll. Very happy with them right now. They're doing a good job.
Too.
They're doing.
All right, I'm gonna take a brief, and I'm gonna come back, and I'll provide a rational analysis for that question because that was a really good question.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I'll give you a few stats on drives because that's what South Carolina's got to do. I'll tell you about that. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Zero Risk Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. And, yep, it is almost Halloween. Is it? It's 2 weeks from tomorrow, actually. Halloween is 2 weeks from tomorrow. Are you having a Halloween party or people coming over, or is it just too scary at your house because you've got stains and spots all over your carpets and rugs? If so, it's time to call the cleaning pros at Zero Risk Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning and take advantage of their spooktacular sale. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $129. All you got to do is call 803-262-4020 and mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $129. Again, the phone number to do that, 803-262-4020. Or you can book online. ZeroResColumbia.com is the way to do that. It's easy, it's fast, and you'll get that appointment scheduled to get them out there with that patented ZR water technology, scientifically proven to keep carpets, rugs, tile, upholstery all insanely clean. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean.
Still working an earlier tie-up Bluff Road at McCord's Ferry Road and also Platte Springs Road near South Lake Drive. Going to be a little bit cooler today, tomorrow. 63 for the high today, overnight low of 39. 65 tomorrow, 39 for the overnight low. Then we get into the 70s for the foreseeable future. So looking forward to that, but kind of breezy this morning and certainly making it feel a little bit cooler. Right now it is 50 on the early game.
How you feeling over there, big fella?
Woosah.
Okay,
I'm back.
Get back to you here in just a minute. I want to remind you the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is back. If South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown this week, you could pocket $700. You just got to go to 1075thegame.com and get registered. All you need is to be registered and good luck. South Carolina to score a special teams touchdown. Right now, the pot is at $700 because it hasn't happened yet, but make sure you're registered. You never know. Go to 1075thegame.com, get registered for that. Feeling better, though? Feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm very clear and very confident and convicted in what I said. I'm cool now.
Okay.
I just had to make sure that was stated.
Got it. I don't know what my stat's going to mean here in a second, but I'm very interested to hear what you think. Let's go back to the previous phone call from Will, and he asked, kind of talking about Lenore Sellers, the offense, what's got to happen? What do you think?
I think going back to our STP plus rating from the early game, I think you have to eliminate the turnovers because it seems like from what I've seen, and I really didn't even get a chance to do a deep dive on Oklahoma's defense, but they are turnover machines. They seem to cause a lot of havoc and create turnovers. So it seems like that's going to be the pivotal battle.
Which South Carolina's not good at. They turn the ball over.
A lot.
A lot. We talk a lot about this offense and what they are. Last two games, Alabama and Mississippi. If I had to ask you, and I've got the number here in front, how many drives of 10 plays or more South Carolina has had? You just want a ballpark? And take a guess.
No, I really don't know. I don't know. But they've seemed to do this a lot. Well, I do know against Ole Miss, they told us they crossed the 57 times. Not that that counts for anything, but they did.
Have you ever heard of a 10-play, 19-yard drive, by the way? 10 plays, 19 yards. There was a offensive pass interference in there that set South Carolina back. That was in the Mississippi game. South Carolina, going back to Will's question, South Carolina in the last two games has had 7 drives of 10 plays or more. 7 drives. There's also, against Alabama, a drive of 9 plays, 42 yards that resulted in what is being defined as a missed field goal. You could probably define it as something a whole lot more if you won't, having seen that field goal. No offense, Alex Herrera. But that's, let's just say 9 plays or more, 8 drives in 2 games. They're moving the football. 2 things on this. Of those, I'm just going to go ahead and throw that 9-play drive in there as well. They also, by the way, had a 6-play, 75-yard touchdown drive against Alabama. That was the Nick Harbor one. That was at the very end. Obviously, we're in a little bit more of a rush. And against Mississippi, to go along with that 10-play, 19-yard drive, they have a 7-play, 27-yard drive. It continues to show you how inept they were. But here's part of it. By the way, a 10-play, 33-yard drive against Mississippi as well. In that Mississippi game, those 4 drives that were 10 plays, you turned it over on downs, you missed a field goal, you threw an interception, and you punted. You didn't convert on it. That can't happen. You can't have a 10-play drive and not end up with some form of point. You simply can't. Against Alabama, you had a 12-play, 63-yard drive that technically was a Josh Simon fumble because he fumbled trying to go for the first down, but the ball was thrown way behind the first down marker, and he tried to turn it up and go get the first down. I believe that was in the second quarter.
It's still a turnover on downs.
It was a turnover on downs. Yeah, fumble,
so it
whatever.
counts as a turnover. Don't try to get tricky.
Yeah, whatever you want to. Again, the 10-play 75-yarder for a touchdown. The incredible drive to start the second half. 16 plays, 85 yards, touchdown. And again, that 9-play 42-yard drive that resulted in a missed field goal. In other words, I'm going to back it up and use it for my benefit here with numbers. 8 drives of 9 plays or more, you have 2 touchdowns, and that is it. You've missed 2 you've missed 2 field goals. You have turned it over on downs. You have had a punt. You've thrown an interception. And, I mean, it's just that to me, that's it. South Carolina will move the ball on Mississippi on Saturday.
Oklahoma.
Excuse me, yes. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Mississippi South Carolina box score and was looking right at it. They'll move the ball on Oklahoma. 2 things about that. You're not finishing drives with points. You're not finishing long drives. And 2, again, those numbers do not suggest you are not hitting an explosive play. It is dink, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, dunk. Too much work for that offense.
And it feels like it when you watch it. Everything feels like a grind. It feels like every yard they have to fight and scratch and claw for. And I don't know whether that's because the players are not making an explosive play. I talked about this. Explosive plays come in 2 categories. Either you throw it big, you get the explosive on a big play. They did that twice against Alabama. Or you throw something short and a player makes somebody miss and breaks out. Or a running back makes somebody miss. We have not seen that. So, yeah, that confirms what it feels like I've watched, because everything feels very congested, very tough to get any yards. It really doesn't feel like there's a flow. So they are moving the ball. So the glass half full is that they have been able to convert on third downs to keep those drives going. Glass half empty is that there's no explosive plays.
Yeah, it's really amazing to me. Again, I'll back it up just for the sake of making my statistics sound a little bit better, but 8 drives of 9 plays or more in the last 2 weeks, and all you've got to show for it is 2 touchdowns. You've missed 2 field goals. You've fumbled once. You've thrown an interception, and you've had a punt. They have to get points out of these long drives, Preston. And again, you've got to find somebody who can make an explosive play. Maybe that guy's Nick Harbor stepping up. Maybe it's getting Rocket Sanders with a big run on Saturday, because the averages of these drives, again, there was a penalty, but just for the sake of laughing at it, 10 plays, 19 yards against Mississippi, 10 plays, 33 yards against Mississippi. And again, there was even a 7-play, 27-yard drive that resulted in a turnover on downs. They've got to hit an explosive play. Let's go out to the phone lines. Casey wants to weigh in. Casey, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
I'm doing pretty good, fellas. I hope y'all are well and calming down.
We're good. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I want to make a prediction real quick. 2010 Carolina. I think that it's going to be a very good rock fight. But I got a question about defense versus defense. Our crown jewel is our defensive end, okay? And as long as those guys can be productive, their offense, I don't think, has a chance. Where is Oklahoma strong? Are they strong in the defensive back, or are they strong on the line like we are? And I think that, depending upon that answer is going to determine if they're weak in the backfield, then I think that Rocket's going to run all over them, because their front can't stop them. But if their front is strong, then I think Lenoris has a chance to throw all over them. I just want to hear what y'all say. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
What you think?
So I made fun of him because he wears a neck brace or whatever, but Danny Sussman is the best player on the Oklahoma defense. He's everywhere. He runs around. He's the Power 5 version of the ODU linebacker.
Okay.
So and he was good too. But Danny Sussman is really good as far as the linebacker is concerned. And I think it's not maybe more so about the players against Oklahoma, where it is about Brent Venables bringing blitzes from every possible angle. And he will do a lot of different things to cause a lot of havoc in this. And that is something that does concern me with Lenoris having a tendency to hold on to the ball longer, not seeing the field, and having a tendency to fumble. It's not a great recipe against a Brent Venables defense. I'll say that.
Well, and again, Texter weighs in. Part of the reason we've had a lot of penalties and turnovers because we have these long 10-play drives, and when you ask kids to run 10 plays in a drive, they're going to make mistakes.
Fair.
And I guess that's my point. They have got to be willing on Saturday to take a few shots downfield to Vandravius Jacobs, to Nick Harbor, if Jared Brown is back, to Gage Larvindan. Preston, I know I'm simplifying it way too much. Lenoris, 5-step drop, let it go. Just let it go.
Listen, He said when you throw it to 8, good things happen. He being Nicholas Harbor referring to himself.
We'll let you hear what Nick Harbor thinks. We'll pull that one out of the bag here when we come back. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. We're trying to settle down. I get to a lot of these. A lot of y'all are weighing in with text on this. We'll get to those as well. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And now, as we remove ourselves from those storms that passed through the last month or so, you might have noticed some roof damage, whether it's at your home or whether it's your business, and you need the professionals, the leaders in the roofing and waterproofing industry to step in and help you. And guess what? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Mid-State Roofing is there with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee who will help you with a maintenance contract. Give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, it's 803-356-1919. If you can contact Mid-State Roofing today, they will help you with a maintenance contract. So whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing, or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. You know what they say? If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. All right, we're settling down mainly because our studio is about like trying to do a radio show outside in the Antarctic, and it's hard to stay really fired up when you're in here freezing. But the bottom line is we are getting to the bottom of this South. Is that the game? The game within the game, Preston? South Carolina's offense versus the Oklahoma defense? Do we have that much faith? That much faith in the South Carolina defense to continue to slow what is a putrid, that one hadn't been used yet, has it?
Good word.
Thank you. Oklahoma offense.
Yes, we do have enough. I do have that faith. I think this defense has shown that they can be consistent, that they can play different styles of football, and they can go out there and dominate. And as long as you got 5 and 6 out there playing defensive end, putting pressure on the passers, I think you can be confident in that. So you're right. The game is not necessarily whether or not South Carolina can move the ball. They can move the ball. It is whether or not they can protect the ball, because Oklahoma thrives on turnovers. They thrive on turnovers. They're not even actually, to be honest, Bill, they're not very good on defense either.
No, and that's why. Look,
to be honest.
Sorry, Preston. You're sorry. I was going to say sorry, Preston, but I was going to say sorry, Auburn, and sorry to your relative.
Second cousin twice removed.
You're about to catch a stray here on Columbia Radio, but yeah, when Auburn's rolling up 500 yards of offense against you, and they're complaining about their offense all year, but yet they got 500. Oklahoma's defense does is what you just pointed out. They'll get a sack on you. They'll put you in a bad position, and they get it. It's a Brent Venables defense without the talent that Clemson had at the front four.
That's a great observation. That's exactly it, and that's the thing. That is something to note, though, because what Lenoris uniquely struggles at is being able to recognize blitzes, being able to get rid of the ball in time, and also the offensive line has struggled with a lot of because Brent Venables he will go to the board and draw up some wild blitz, different dudes coming at wild angles, people dropping off in coverage. It is confusing, and that's what our offense has struggled with.
On the upside, maybe a new playmaker is emerging. Nick Harbor yesterday talked about his development. Here's what number 8 had to say about himself.
I feel it's coming on real good. Haven't dropped the ball yet, so it's working out. I guess haven't got that many targets, but anytime the ball comes, just gotta catch it, because you don't know how many targets you're gonna get that game. So just gotta make the most of every opportunity. That's what I feel like I'm doing.
He's technically true. He hadn't dropped it. He's good for a bobble a game though, where he somehow snatches it back out of the air. He's good on those second catches. I think it's really, really interesting though, because I do feel like I'm seeing development from him.
I don't know if Tyler has the clip. Jen, can we play 16? Because I think this is the one where he refers to himself as number 8.
So
this is him talking about the touchdown.
First, I think it was like 1st and 10. We had just got a penalty face mask. So, why not take a shot? And Coach Ferry was yelling at me on the sideline. He was like, "Run! You about to get this ball." I looked at 16. 16 looked at me. I'm like, all right, it's time to go make a play. That's the moments where, you dream of, go make a play for your team, big game, Alabama, trying to get that upset. And I'm like, just throw it up to 8. Good things happen.
Well, the confidence is there. That's for sure.
This is a through line, because he also referred, if you remember during his recruitment, he referred to himself as the Prince was coming to Columbia. So this is, and it's good to see that he's kept his confidence throughout his time here.
I do think I expected nothing. In all seriousness, and we've discussed this, and I understand why. I understand why, because of his track background. If he doesn't do spring practice in 2025, he's not getting any better, Preston. He's not getting any better. He is who he is. He will be what he is as a football player. And I get it. Everything's there with track. I totally understand this. It's the same point I'm trying to make. People are like, well, just move him to defensive end. That's what he should. Well, he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to gain the weight, understandably so. He's not a defensive end. He wants to play wide receiver. He didn't want to play tight end. Didn't want to block. Understandable. But you are who you are. And if you want to get better at football, you got to go through spring ball. But he's playing better. He is playing better. I'll be interested to see his role this week at wide receiver, because apparently, just throw it up to 8. Good things happen. And Normally there's a bobble in there somewhere too. But yeah, good things happen. Great touchdown catch on Saturday. We'll come back. Hour 3 on the way.
Listen, if you're experiencing pain from arthritis, then you know that it's just awful. Whether it's bone-on-bone, constant pain, it doesn't matter. It robs you of so much of the things that you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about having drugs or surgery. We're talking about the good folks at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics offers new cellular therapies that can get you long-lasting relief. And they use cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties. And so you can revitalize your joints so you can move again. So if you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, or you need to know that steroids and surgery are not your only options. The folks at QC Kinetics use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain and enhance your joints, restore mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. So call for a free consultation at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860. Again, 803-281-6860.
.277 northbound at I-20. We have a report of an accident there. Also, still working that earlier slowdown at Platte Springs Road near South Lake Drive. I-20 westbound there at Highway 1, a big slowdown there. And Bluff Road at McCord's Ferry, an accident still being worked in that area. So a little extra caution out there this morning. We're looking for a high today of 63 and 65 tomorrow. Those overnight lows kind of significant, 39 tonight and into tomorrow. And then by Friday, 70 will be our high, and the temperatures will start going back up into next week. But in the meantime, it's a little bit breezy and cool. 50 at 107.5 The Game.
8 a.m. One more hour for us on a Wednesday morning. Then we take a 21-hour break, come back, do it all again on a football Thursday. All right, it's the 8 o'clock hour, which really means we turn up the heat on looking ahead to looking ahead to Oklahoma, putting Alabama behind us, and we'll do that this hour. Perry Orth will call in. We'll talk about that. Preston's also going to talk about the NCAA now looking at Dan Lanning.
I told you. I told you.
Uh-huh.
You got us once. Fool me once.
If you haven't seen that play, I really went back yesterday. I think it was College Football Live. Really had an overall breakdown of it, of like how everything transpired. Ohio State had 3 wide receivers to the right, and Lanning just snuck his guy out on the field. Then Ryan Day loses his mind. I don't know if Ryan Day was fully aware at that precise moment.
He might have saw it.
Well, I think it was he saw a chance. I felt like, again, Ryan Day's not been honest about this. No shocker there. But I feel like Ryan Day saw the 12th guy come on the field and thought, I'm getting 5 yards. I'm getting a penalty. Let me make sure they call it. Only to now be like, I see what he did there.
Well, and also there's the extra component of the NCAA. And this is everybody's just playing around with the rules. The NCAA changed the substitution rule, which allows the defense, it holds the offense, allows the defense to get the right number of guys to make a proper substitution. But this guy, Dan Lanning, said, I found a loophole. Let me put an extra dude on the field. And
waste clock.
And waste clock. Yeah.
And waste clock.
So I don't know if it'll have that. Like I said yesterday, that'll be the last time this happens. Whether you can take advantage of it for the rest of the time this year, that rule will be changed next year.
Shout out to Tony Annan and his soccer team. They've got another monster match this weekend. They go up to West Virginia to take on the Mountaineers. But this is a strategy that especially we employed. I say we, more of my dad and one of his coaching buddies when I was about 9, 10, 11 in the old rec league, the Lexington Rec League soccer, where when you sub somebody on, you tell them to move very slowly and the other person coming off so that, in rec league soccer, you waste clock. So if you're up 2-1 late in the match, that, the referees there don't feel like being there. So if you ever watch Premier League soccer or you watch, you'll notice late in matches, if it's a 1-goal match, all of a sudden the substitutions, it gets a little harder to get onto the field, to get out there to your position and to get off the field than it did early. It's a waste clock move. Okay. And so I don't want to hear it anymore. Oh, it's soccer. No, look how they act. Look what they do with the flopping. Look at football. American football is growing closer and closer and closer to what they do. Soccer was just out ahead of it. The flopping. And if you... We've seen it, haven't we? Like Ole Miss is playing soccer just on a football field, just falling over with injuries.
I have a picture of it. There was a graphic, and I believe it was kind of floating around. Let me get to it. I can get to it very quickly. But there was a graphic that was floating around with Ole Miss as far as the number of stoppages they've had as far as penalties are concerned. They've had 29 stoppages due to injury in the last 3 games against the Power Four.
Their strength and conditioning coach is awful.
29 stoppages due to injury. Now, we don't have this compared to the rest of the SEC, but I'm sure some geek can find that, and I would like to know how that compares, but I'm pretty sure they're way out ahead. 29.
29. So, yeah, there you go. Looking around other football, NFL, and college. Well, yesterday, big day in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers making his first trade as coach, general manager, team liaison, HR director, human resources.
This is the same guy who said, "I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with Robert Saleh. I am offended that people would think that I had something to do with it." And then all of a sudden, his best buddy gets like, "Hey," and you think he just walks around like, "Listen, I know a guy. He's having some issues. I'm not saying you should do it, but I wouldn't be mad if you did it."
I don't necessarily put this one on Rodgers because I'd been thinking for weeks when basically Devontae Adams looked around and was like, man, I can visit Vegas anytime in the offseason. Like, I don't need to live here with this organization.
It's tough. You feel bad for Devontae because he went to Las Vegas to play with his friend Derek Carr. That's his guy. They're college roommates, college teamates. Did Derek Carr get shipped away? And he's like, Hold on a second. What am I doing here?
Give me this Gardner guy?
Yeah, man.
Have you seen this? He wears cutoff jeans and sleeps in a Winnebago. He's an NFL guy.
Yeah, so he kind of got a raw deal with that. So yes, you're right. I figured he would be moving on soon.
It is. The Jets are. Can we just get a reality show for them for the rest of the season? I mean, look, good for them, and I'm interested to see how this really goes. Devontae Adams was obviously so good in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, and now they're back together. Is it enough to even get to a Super Bowl? No, I don't think so. But at least it makes it more entertaining.
It's interesting for sure, but one of the things I'm wondering is if Devontae comes back and all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers that he played with. This is a totally different dude, not only mentally but physically. He's just a different guy. So I wonder if he's like, oh, okay, I didn't know I was going to meet this guy. Who are you?
Also couldn't help it if Adams and Rodgers got down and read the great big book of cliche quotes yesterday, because you've got Adams appearing on the Pat McAfee show with Aaron Rodgers saying, "We're back, man. We're back." Aaron Rodgers said, "It's on now. It's on us. We're going all in." Like, I feel like they were just turning we're all in. We're all in. Like,
also, if you are Garrett Wilson, who was wide receiver 1 with the Jets, you're like, hey,
no,
guys.
You know what? You say that. I'm not sure Garrett Wilson, because those stares that Aaron Rodgers gives when you mess up, I'm not sure Garrett Wilson didn't like, okay, good. Now you look at him and yell at him like that, because I can be wide receiver 2 and get a little bit better, and I don't have to deal with you yelling at me like that. I've seen how you treated. Garrett Wilson went, oh, good. The target's off my back now. Like, I just saw him get the coach fired. Now he's got his guy, and good. I'll be guy number 2.
The only problem is Aaron Rodgers is acting like he's the MVP Aaron Rodgers still, and he's not. So all that staring, it's like, hey, man, you're not as good as you think you are right now. I don't know who you staring at like that. Bruh, get out of here.
NFL getting more entertaining. Reminder, tomorrow night, Thursday night, we will have Thursday night football for you, and it's the Broncos at the Saints. We'll get more Spencer Rattler as he gets going there with the Saints. Game 2 for him. Not a bad, good first half. I still laughed. We talked about it, I think, on Monday when Spencer Rattler turned it upfield and ducked and dodged and dove for 17 yards, and the announcers are like, oh, he's a dual threat guy. He can hurt you with his legs or his arm. And my son's going, what? He runs a 4.72. And I was like, no, I'll send her 4.95 at the combine. Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
So, reminder tonight, you can hear that. That will be tomorrow night, right after Carolina Calls. We'll have Carolina Calls tomorrow night, Thursday night, with Shane Beamer and Todd Ellis here on 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And then right after that, starting at 7:30, we'll have the NFL pregame show, Broncos at the Saints tomorrow night. So it'll be a reason to tune in to both, whether you tune in here and listen here, or whether you tune in to Amazon and catch Spencer Rattler in his second start for the Saints. Again, hoping to build off of his first one. Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield got to go in 2 transfer Oklahoma quarterbacks that we're facing off. Now you get 2 more transfer guys, Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler, both spending several years in college that I think they anticipated doing. One other thing from last night, again, Preston Thorne, the women's basketball team for South Carolina, selected number 1 in the country. I did see some Twitter. This is welcome to Gamecock Twitter. I get it. We're all upset about something at some point. We're all going to be really not happy, but South Carolina basketball atop the women's hoops poll, there is 30 number 1 votes that are given out, Preston. 30 number 1 votes. Do you know how many they got?
If it's not 30, it's a travesty.
It's not 30.
Okay. All right.
Connecticut gets 2. Southern Cal gets 1. So 27 out of the 30 first-place votes went to South Carolina Gamecocks. Number 1 in the AP preseason top 25. Connecticut 2, Southern Cal 3, Texas 4, UCLA 5.
All of those they will be legit contenders throughout the year, so there's nothing wrong with that. But the question is, how could a team who won last year and returns their players
not get all 30?
Not get all 30. That seems interesting.
If you're wondering, I don't know if our rivalry with LSU is still ongoing It might just be Kim Mulkey, but it feels like we've vanquished them.
Yeah.
We've moved on from the. I don't think because Van Lith isn't there anymore. I think she went to like TCU
she's
or
gone, yep.
She left. Angel Reese is gone.
I think Flage's still there, but she's fine. But she's not really.
Yeah.
She's not why we were riled up though.
That is the cool thing about Dawn Staley's women's team. It feels again like I think I've compared it to The Walking Dead, where there's constantly a new villain, and we've just put them all down. It was Iowa and Caitlin Clark. It was LSU and Angel Reese, Connecticut, and Gino Auriemma. We just kind of keep taking out the villains. I guess this year, Southern Cal and Juju Watkins.
Yeah,
that
maybe
seems like
maybe Juju's on the radar.
the USC versus USC thing.
Yeah,
we get
I
it
could
going.
see, I could see
East
that.
Coast, West
I
Coast.
could see that being a thing.
Last night, apparently angered by only getting 27 of the 30 votes, South Carolina came out and demolished Memphis in a preseason exhibition game, the inaugural Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic. It was an exhibition game, so they're not 1-0. They won 106-63. Joyce Edwards made her debut, and it says leading the way early on after posting a double-double in the first half. 10 points, 10 rebounds in just 11 minutes on the court.
That's pretty good. I wonder, there's some efficiency rating for that, I'm sure.
Edwards would go on to finish with a team-high 19 points and 12 boards. Chloe Kitts had her own double-double last night, 15 points and 13 rebounds. Malaysia Fulwiley was the fourth scorer to end in double digits last night, and she had 2 assists. They were right back into action, basically just rolling right over Memphis. Again, just an exhibition game, doesn't count, but the inaugural Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic. Today, Dawn Staley will be in Birmingham, so a little short trip over from Memphis to Birmingham to talk at the women's SEC Media Days. Yesterday was the men's SEC Media Days. We've played a little bit of Lamont Paris. Might try and get back into that if we've got time. But the Gamecocks will host Clayton State for the final exhibition game Monday, October 28th. That'll be at Colonial Life Arena. But again, last night, Dawn Staley's team opens up and apparently just angry. Looked at the polls and was like, well, we got to take it out on somebody. Oh, hey, Memphis. How you doing?
I took that personal.
106-63 last night. Joyce Edwards, Gamecock debut, 19 points, 12 rebounds. 803-404-6100. When we come back, we'll talk more football. Perry Orth will join us. We'll get his take on what he has seen from Lenore Sellers. But also, Preston, I'm going to ask him, being coached by Steve Spurrier, when Connor Shaw was there, what did Spurrier and G.A. Mangus and Sean Elliott, how did they handle ball security there with the zone read? We'll ask him about that. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. And if you've listened to me talk about Jacob Crowder in the past, you know exactly how great I think he is, how easy he is to work with, how he finds you the best interest rates, the best plans. Let's be honest, you spend a lot of time looking for that dream home. Well, Jacob Crowder wants to make sure you have the absolute best interest rate and plan to fit your needs and keep your payments as low as possible. And right now, First Palmetto Bank and Jacob Crowder, they are offering you the community reinvestment product. If you're thinking about moving to Richland County, you have got to call Jacob Crowder today and learn more about this. They are offering you right now a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. You heard that right. For more information, call Jacob Crowder, the Mortgage Guru, today, 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Contact the Mortgage Guru today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
Assembly near Calhoun Street, a new accident to make you aware of. It's kind of right there at Elmwood. Also still working Bluff Road at McCord's Ferry. Farming Creek Road at Dreer Shoals Road, easy for me to say. There is an accident. Also, you'll find one Highway 1 near I-77. I-20 westbound at exit 58. That would be exit 1 off of I-20 westbound. 277 northbound at I-20 and Platte Springs Road near South Lake Drive. 63 will be our high today, 65 tomorrow, and overnight lows both nights 39. By Friday, we hit 70 and the warm-up begins. Currently, it's a little cool because it is breezy, and 50 on 107.5 The Game.
Rolling along on your Wednesday morning. Will weighs in, says Texas will be the new villain. Okay. All right. That's what we have to do. We have to go find a new villain for women's basketball for Dawn Staley and them.
Because of Vic?
I don't know. All right. We'll work on that.
All right.
We'll work on it. We got time.
This is what we can do. That's an assignment we can do on the early show.
Yeah.
We can find a fake villain.
Don't
no
worry.
problem.
Don't worry. Yeah.
We can do that.
We can pick two.
No problem.
We can pick two. Let's get out to the phone lines, though. The villain for this weekend, the Oklahoma Sooners, joining us now to talk a little bit about that. Perry Orth, our own dual threat quarterback. And Perry, how you doing this morning?
Man, I'm great. Appreciate you guys having me on as always, and ready to chop it up.
Yeah, let's get into this a little bit. Preston was asking me, let's start with this here. You, I believe in at 2015, did you face a Brent Venables run defense? That was a Brent Venables run defense in 2015 here at Williams-Brice Stadium, correct?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Talk about that. What do you remember from his defense? Now, granted, the talent at Clemson to what Oklahoma's working with a lot different, but what do you remember about facing his defense?
Yeah, I think, and it was kind of funny because when I said this a long time ago, I remember they ended up playing, Clemson ended up playing Ohio State maybe 3 or 4 years later in one of the playoff games, and they were interviewing Urban Meyer, and he was talking about the sideline reporter said, what makes a Brent Venables defense so challenging? And he said, there's no rhyme or reason why they do what they do. And I remember saying that when watching film for them when I was playing in 15 and then when I was backing Jake up in 16, and that still holds true today. There's no rhyme or reason why they play certain coverages to certain formations, why they do this or why they do that. So it's hard to necessarily game plan to say, like, okay, if we line up in 3-by-1 with with 10 personnel, we're going to go into the game with these 5 plays because of X, Y, and Z that they do. You have to almost go into the game and say, we just need to do what we do really, really well. Hey, on this play, Lenore, these are your reads, right? This is what you're doing, especially in the back end because they are so confusing. Now, back when I played against them, they were a 4-down front, so they had the 2 defensive line, the 2 tackles and 2 ends. Sometimes they'd stand up, sometimes they wouldn't. He was a big pressure guy. He was a big blitz 4 to one side, which puts offensive lines in a bind, right? Because typically you'll slide the protection to where you feel like you have the most threat, and somehow he has a knack for always bringing an overload blitz to the side that you are sliding away from, and it puts a strain obviously on the O-line, and then they get after the QB. But yeah, it really is all predicated on who you have on the defensive line, and if you can get pressure with the 4 down. Obviously they won a couple national titles with that methodology of, hey, let's go and recruit the biggest and the baddest D-line, which they had in those years at Clemson. And we'll drop 7 into coverage and just wear you out with confusion and dysfunction, because the way that they play their certain coverages, it's not cookie cutter. It's a little unique, and that's why you'll see them either play really, really well or get really exposed because guys are out of position. And it all starts with giving the quarterback time to make the reads and make throws. And I think, last week was a perfect example of that. I think Quinn Ewers and Texas, man, he had all day to throw, and he just picked them apart.
So there will be some free rushes that come, and there'll probably be some plays that are going to be sacks and things for the defense. Can you take us through the moment when a quarterback knows they are about to get sacked? How do you decide to tuck it or throw it away? What is that actual moment like when you know that the play is about to die?
Yeah, honestly, President, that's such a great point. I think if there was any criticism that Lenoris would get from an outsider would be that one decision making. Now, for the record, I think Lenoris will probably go down as the best quarterback that we've ever had here as long as he stays. And not that he would leave by any means, but he's that kind of a kid, that kind of a player. We saw that evident on Saturday. Obviously, there were a few plays that he wished he had back, but I think that goes for every game. But yeah, I think for me personally, because I did not have the ability of Lenoris to potentially break out of being ganged up or really swallowed up by the defensive line, I just thought, I'm just going to go ahead and go down, because I would rather it be 2nd 18 than me turn the ball over or me flip up a sideways pass or an errant pass to really dig a deeper hole. And I think it's really, for me, is when I felt like I was trying to push and pull or run or whatever the case might be, where I felt like I was stuck, I would rather have just go down than stand up and just let dudes tee off on me. And that would be the one area that I would love to watch Lenoris progress in, is that when he has those guys that are swallowing him up, just go ahead and go down and live to play the next play. And I know that they're echoing that to him. And I tell you, social media is such a brutal place, but from my vantage point, I think the kid is playing pretty daggone good football. I think there's a few plays in each game that he wished he'd have back, but he is 19 years old. His 5th or 4th start was against number 7 Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and really played a hell of a football game, in my opinion. Obviously, like I said, there are a couple plays that he wishes he'd had back and a couple ball handling issues. But, I think that as he progresses and as the season progresses, you're going to see him continue to get better. And I think Dow does a great job with the QB development. Look at what he did with Spencer, and I expect the same for Lenoris.
Is there any way to develop that, or is that something that just comes with experiences?
Yeah, it's repetition, but I think it's also watching the tape and learning from it and taking mental notes. Because when you see it on film, you go back, 3-4 days previously, and you remember how you felt. Like, okay, I remember this one guy had my leg, and the other leg was kind of dragging along, and I saw the guys coming in to knock my head off. I need to just tuck the ball and go down. And then you just make mental note. And unfortunately, the best way to learn is through, negative experiences. And it's a way that you can progress your game and say, hey, I'm not going to do that again. And you just learn from it. But, yeah, I think it's a combination of studying the game intently, being a student of the game. But then, yeah, it's experience. It's as you learn when you go from, playing in high school to being a non-contact person in scrimmages in college, to playing in the game. That's probably the hardest transition from going from high school to college, is understanding, man, when these guys have you wrapped up, it's not like high school where you've got some 185-pound kid trying to pull you down when you're at 220. These dudes are 320 pounds, and when they get their bear claws on you, you're going down, and to live to play the next day. So, yeah, that would probably be one area of growth that I know that Lenoris is working on. But, man, I tell you, he's impressed the hell out of me. His composure, his demeanor, the way he responds to negative plays, he just seems really unfazed. And I think that we are going to see incredible development by the end of the season, and by the time we reach our bowl game, I think that he's going to be a significantly different player. And then, golly, the potential of having him for another, 3 years is pretty amazing.
Perry, you got about 6 or 7 minutes. We got about a minute left. If I keep you, I want to ask you 2 specific questions when we come back. You got about 6 or 7 minutes left in you?
Yeah, man.
All right, let's do this. Hit a break, come back. I want to get into the quarterback running back exchange that South Carolina's had, not just with Lenora Sellers. This happened with Robbie Ashford a couple weeks ago. I want Perry's take on that, ball security, and then just big thoughts on the weekend and these drives that we talked about, the length of these drives not resulting in points. We'll get with Perry when we come back on that. You're listening to the early game.
They say perfection is a journey. Well, that journey led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. We had a renovation that we did in a bathroom, replaced the cabinetry, and of course, that meant needed a countertop. We were referred to Carolina Stone Craftsman, and I got to tell you, we're really impressed. Felt right at home right away. Their showroom is incredible. We learned more about their commitment to affordable marble and granite and quartz, and it's all sculpted with the highest craftsmanship and all the professionalism that you come to expect in that kind of a business. There's so much to choose from. They were very helpful in helping us figure out what exactly would work best in that bathroom. Every step of the process was great, from selecting to the home vision, measurements and all of that, the installation. It was great. I'm telling you, if you're in the market for countertops for your kitchen or bath, I encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman and tell them Jen sent you. Family owned and operated, Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations, carolinastonecraftsman.com. 277 northbound at I-20, still working that earlier tie-up. In Lexington, Old Cherokee Road at Old Chapin, an accident just happened. I-20 westbound at Highway 1, also Highway 1 near I-77, it appears that still working that earlier tie-up. Farming Creek Road at Dreer Shoals Road. And in downtown Columbia, Assembly Street near Calhoun. It's going to be chilly today, or, well, cooler, we shall say. For Bill, this is like winter. 63 will be our high today, overnight low of 39. 65 tomorrow, same for the overnight temps. Start the warming trend on Friday with a high of 70. But it is cooler right now, especially because it's breezy. It's 50. 107.5 The Game.
8:34 as we roll along. A few more minutes. Perry Orth joining us this morning, and wanted to hold him. A lot of good insight there. Perry, I forgot, as we were going to bring you on, that's when Preston was like, hey, didn't he play against a Brent Venables-led defense? And you can give a great insight, and you did on that. But I did want to get to you, ball security. This appears to be a massive issue, and Preston asked you about being sacked and protecting the ball. But just like on Saturday, South Carolina's got a chance to really grab that game by the throat. And you see the simple fumble on the exchange. And you worked with some guys who were really good with the zone read there in G.A. Mangus and Sean Elliott at that particular time. Break down that exchange there. I know it's Lenora Sellers is reading a defensive end or reading a guy, but how that works with putting the ball in the belly, pulling it out, because it seems right now that is an issue. We saw Robbie Ashford have an issue with it, I think 2 weeks ago. Well, he had an issue with it in the Mississippi State game. I think he had an issue in the Akron game. It doesn't just seem to be one guy. It seems to almost be a way that it's being taught, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of two things. And you know the funny thing, and you bring up a really good point. I'd need to go back and look. Does anybody know? So Ashford had the issue against Ole Miss, and then we had the same issue against Alabama. Who was the running back for both of those runs, or was it the same running back, or was it two? Was it two different running backs? I'd like to know that. And the reason I say that is that, you know, every practice and pre-practice, every day you practice your mesh, right? That's what we call it. You practice the mesh, the QB running back mesh, when you're working on your inside zone, whether you need to pull it or whether you need to keep it. The running back should always be thinking, I'm getting the ball, okay? The quarterback is responsible for, if I'm not given this ball, I am going to rip it out, two hands on the football. I'm going to, as hard as I possibly can, I'm going to rip it out of his gut, tuck it away, and then get to moving. And what happens is sometimes there are some running backs that don't have that feel of, okay, I feel like I'm secure. I need to now clamp down both arms on the football, tuck it, and then get moving, where some will just hold on for dear life, and you're trying to pull it out, and they're still wanting to hang on to it. And for whatever reason, that seems to be the issue, because I guarantee you, I mean, I bet my life that they're practicing their meshes every day. The problem is that sometimes, and then the other thing is when you have a couple different quarterbacks, they pull it out a little different, it feels a little bit different, and sometimes that can create some confusion, maybe. But I would be willing to bet, not a ton of money, but I'd be willing to bet it was the same running back in the game versus Ole Miss that had the issue that we did against Alabama. And I don't mean that to disparage the player. I mean that just because having done it and then having coached it now for 8 years, I understand that certain players do certain things a little bit different than others, and it can cause some confusion. But I think that would be an interesting thing to look up.
Yeah, we'll get into that. And by the way, for everybody listening, not all the fumbles are because of, as he says, the mesh. And there's some where Lenora Sellers is just simply being sacked and not doing a good job of tucking and protecting the ball. But that does seem to be a little bit of an issue.
That's a great insight.
Yeah,
because I don't think the average person would think that, because it's obviously that fumble is a quarterback's stat, but it may not necessarily be the quarterback's fault. That's a great insight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. No, I mean, honestly, the only way you would even know that is if you've played it.
Right.
And even if I coached it, I wouldn't have necessarily known that. But when you rep it, like, it was little things like, I'll tell you, it's so funny now. I always joke about it when I'm teaching this, when we do install at the high school, is when we run the power read, which is the play that Ashford fumbled on against Ole Miss. I was awful at reading that. I had no idea. I could identify a coverage, pre-snap, post-snap, slide protection, do all of it. I could read the inside zone. But if it came to the power read, reading the front side versus the back side, I could not do that very well, and I have no idea why. But it really is all player-centered because I know they're practicing it. I mean, we've got great coaches that are doing all they can to get these guys ready to play. But, sometimes I'm telling you, it's got me really intrigued now that you bring this question up, that I'd love to try to see if it was the same running back. I would be willing to bet it was the same running back.
One of our buddies from Florence, Scat, weighs in and says it was Rocket on both. I am I'll try and confirm that here in a second and confirm that. But because right now all I'm reading is that it was Ashford fumbled. It doesn't tell me who the running back is, but I'll try and get to the bottom of that real quick. Before we let you out here, I do want to ask you this. This is another thing. I brought this up, and I don't know what this means. So I want an offensive guy and an OC kind of guy to break this down, and maybe it means nothing. Perry, don't hesitate to say, it's what you're asking is irrelevant. We're trying to break down this offense, and in the last two games, South Carolina has had 4 drives of 9 plays or more. 4 drives. They've really had 7 drives of 10 plays or more, but they've had 8 drives. I think I misworded that. They've had 8 drives of 9 plays or more. Perry, 8 drives, 9 plays or more. 7 of those drives have been 10 plays or more. They've only scored 2 touchdowns in those drives. You've had a fumble, 2 missed field goals, you've turned it over on downs, you've thrown an interception, and you've had a punt. As an offensive guy, when I tell you over the last 2 games that you've had 8 drives where you've gone at least 9 plays, by the way, one of them was a 10-play, 19-yard drive, Perry. But when you've had 8 drives of 9 plays or more, but you've only got 2 touchdowns, what does an offensive guy make of that?
I mean, it sounds, honestly, this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. It sounds like there is a high level of execution. It sounds like great plays are being called. It just sounds like we're missing a few Jimmies and Joes to make that extra guy miss to get into the box, honestly. I remember when I was playing, somebody said that. They said, you want to score points in the red zone? Go get you some dudes that can make people miss and score. Because when the field shrinks, it requires the athletes that you have to be better than the opponents that you're playing. Now, obviously, you can design things up and call creative plays and misdirection and make people think you're doing one thing and do another. But at the end of the day, we need some Jimmies and Joes that are going to make people miss. And that's, I would tell you, if there was one area that I haven't heard anybody talk about, everybody, it's so easy when you lose, fire everybody. Beamer sucks, Dowell sucks, everyone sucks, blow the program up, just no more football. The one thing that I'm seeing from my untrained eye is I just don't see our guys on the perimeter making people miss after the first contact. I talked about this last week on JB's show. It's such a strain on the quarterback and even more than the quarterback, the play caller, when you are consistently having 7, 8, 9-yard or 5-yard gains because you're just waiting for that big chunk play to kind of get you into your rhythm and into your flow and like plays like the touchdown we scored on 4th down. Like those types of plays bring life to a team and certainly to an offense. But you can't call plays that hit like that every single time. So you really need your guys, when they make catches, they've got to make the first guy miss. And I'm not seeing a ton of that. And it really does. It puts a strain on the QB and then even the play caller because it's hard, man. It is so hard to have long drives in this conference. To have that many long drives that you just mentioned and to only come away with a couple scores, that's painful. And I would say that the number one concern there would be we need explosive plays, but that can't always be manufactured by the coaching staff and the quarterback, right? The quarterback is the point guard. OC is the one calling the shots, right? So we need somebody, I don't know who it is or who has the ability to do that, We need somebody to be that difference maker on the perimeter that creates those explosive plays to help the QB, the OC, the defense to stay off the field, to get those big chunk plays, to turn those long drives into scoring drives.
I always appreciate your insight. I just watched the replay from Mississippi. Sure enough, it was Rocket Sanders, and I watched it off the ESPN replay, and you can see as Ashford is pulling it out of his stomach, he loses it. He bobbles it, and I believe it was Rocket this past week, and I'm 99% sure of that, just not watching it right now live or watching the replay in front of me. But
yeah, and I mean, it goes back to my what I was trying to say is that, and I'm not, obviously Rocket is probably one of the better, if not one of the best running backs in this conference, but that could be, one area of his game to improve on, much like how I told you I couldn't read the power, I could not read the power read run game if my life depended on it, right? And so that's just an area that he's going to have to practice and grow in, and hey, that's okay. I mean, we got to take those next steps, but let's see somebody on that perimeter step up. Loving what I'm seeing from Mazeo Bennett. Had him at the Under Armour camp a couple years ago. Great kid, great player. We need somebody else to step up alongside him to keep making those plays.
Perry, we always appreciate it, buddy.
Appreciate
We'll
it,
catch
Perry.
up with
Thank
you later.
man.
Take care.
Yep. See y'all.
Take care. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up here. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Egton Law Firm. John Egton and his team, they are the professionals when it comes to dealing with the IRS. That's why they have helped thousands of families across the Midlands, across the state, deal with the IRS maze. And if you've been having some issues lately, if you've received one of those nasty notices, it's time for you to call John Egton and his team. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, or Myrtle Beach, the Egton Law Firm is ready to help you. Again, they have helped thousands of families resolve their income or business tax issues for good. And right now, you can start with a free consultation. 803-771-9800. But time is limited, so call the Egton Law Firm today. Set up that free consultation. One more time, that phone number, 803-771-9800. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where right now we're coming off some of those storms from the past month. And if you've noticed some damage to your roof, if you've noticed it to your business's roof, it's time for you to call Larry Leitner and the family. For nearly 30 years, they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it is their proven history that is your assurance that they will get the job done in a timely manner and will do it with professionals to help the needs of your facility. They want to get it done so that you can keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So call Mid-State Roofing today, 803-356-1919, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are there to help you. They know what they are talking about. They know what they're doing. They're ready to help you with a maintenance contract. So again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Mid-State Roofing can help you with a maintenance contract. Call Mid-State Roofing today, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Wrapping it up here, where Preston has proclaimed this morning. Must win. Is it a must win, or you're saying that South Carolina, this is a should win?
Should win.
This is a should win. It's not even a must win.
Not a must win. A must win is a game that could go either way. I think we might have framed Kentucky as a must win.
Right.
But that can kind of go either way. A should win is when you're supposed to walk in there, handle business, and walk out. A business trip. Should be a business trip to Norman, Oklahoma.
There is a lot there to question about Oklahoma, and quite frankly, if you look at Oklahoma for them, and one of the articles I read off of their OU daily paper is already labeling this a must-win for them.
Yes,
and that's look. Saying this and not saying it to offend anybody, but there are different standards of what Oklahoma football has been, is, and should be as opposed to South Carolina. I don't think I'm saying anything mean or overbearing there, but it's going to be one of those things. I'll never forget again in 2004. Preston, y'all went out to Alabama and you beat them. Savell Newton had a big game. The defense absolutely shut down whatever the quarterback's name was for Alabama, and I remember throwing the football around in the post game and hanging out with buddies and listening to the Alabama call-in show, and they were like, South Carolina doesn't come in here and beat us like that. There has to be changes. Changes. I believe that was a Mike Shula-led team, by the way.
It was.
Now offensive analyst for South Carolina. But for Oklahoma, who's sitting there at 4-2 on the season, they're coming off the drubbing 34-3 that was extremely ugly by Texas. They still have games with Mississippi, Missouri, Alabama, and LSU. They have one other game against Maine.
There are going to be people in the stands at Oklahoma who see South Carolina the same way they see Maine.
Yep.
Like, who is this? What is this? Wow. Who is this team?
The only reason they might pay a little bit more attention is because Shane Beamer coached there.
Maybe.
And they'll be like, oh yeah,
that's cute.
okay, Coach Beamer.
That was cute.
Back, yeah.
I'm glad for Coach Beamer that he got a program somewhere, but whatever. But there are people who have not paid attention. Obviously, we know Oklahoma because of the history, and it's very similar to that game. Yes, we went down to Alabama and played Bama, but we weren't playing jeans. We weren't playing Bear Bryant.
Nick Saban.
We weren't playing, and Saban hadn't come yet, so we weren't.
Yeah, no, 4-4.
Yeah, 04. It was a different. They were not very good, and so I think it's a very similar game. Yes, this is a must-win for Oklahoma, so the pressure's on them, but this is a should-win for South Carolina because all statistical indicators point to the fact that we are a better team than them.
Yeah, again, Oklahoma 6 games remaining. 4 against top 20 opponents, and then South Carolina and Maine. It's conceivable that Oklahoma, with that Maine game, needs this to become bowl eligible.
That's a conversation that I'm sure they're having.
That is again, they play at Mississippi, at Missouri, at LSU, and they get Alabama in Norman.
And that is not the Oklahoma standard.
No.
Those people are not happy with even having a conversation about getting eligible. Yeah, that's not a conversation they like to have. So there will be another stadium will be a little bit tense and tight, and I expect South Carolina to walk in there as the better team and perform as they should.
Yeah, we'll dig into this, continue to dig into it more tomorrow. Of course, Brian Edwards of Vegas Insider will join us. We'll do our quarterly pool solutions checkered flag challenge. The trophy has officially been returned. Where I don't have I can't remember if Jen gave it to us, and I just don't have it in front of me. The updated sheet. With where we were at after last week's results.
We're
back to
Reggie is still leading, but Preston's right there.
Okay, I think you did give me the sheet. I
don't think so.
Okay, maybe I haven't, but we'll do all that tomorrow. But there is something, Preston, and we might do a deeper dive on that tomorrow. Who is this game more important for? And who is it more important for, Shane Beamer or Brent Venables? Because you look at Venables coming down this stretch. You remember his first year. They went 6-7. And I don't know Oklahoma's history that well to speak to the fact of when the last time they had two losing seasons. They went to a bowl that year and lost to Florida State. That loss to Florida State kind of jump-started Florida State's run last year. Oklahoma, though, in that first year under Venables went 6-7. And there was a lot of people there going, wait, did we hire the right guy? Is this what we expected? And then last year they bounced back. But if Brent Venables – they followed it up 10-3 last year, but if Brent Venables has two losing seasons in 3 years, and that's what Saturday's game for Oklahoma might boil down to when you look at the rest of their schedule.
A lot on the line. This is a big, huge game for both programs.
That's been fun.
Had a lot of fun, man. Blew up during the 7 o'clock hour, but we'll be back.
We'll do it all again tomorrow. Y'all have a great
Appreciate y'all.
Take care.
At a Racket Assembly near Calhoun also. Farming Creek Road at Dreer Shoals Road. Got Two Notch Road near I-77. North Springs at South Springs. Old Cherokee at Old Chapin. 277 northbound at I-20. Weather outlook for today. 63 for a high, 39 for a low overnight. Breezy at times. Could have 13-mile-an-hour winds out of the north. Also tomorrow, 65 for a high, 39 again for a low. And again, a little windy, but not as bad as today. Friday, it's going to warm up. 70 for a high. Saturday, 74. Sunday, 76. Monday, 78. And Wednesday, we project back to 81 degrees for a high. It's Captain Dave, WIS-TV Traffic Center.
Nine o'clock on your Thursday. It's not Thursday, Jack. What am I doing? I'm trying to get too far ahead of myself. I want the weekend to get here. I'm trying to omit a day, but no, it is Wednesday morning here on the game as we make our way through the week. Hopefully, a great weekend of college football ahead, but not quite there yet as we're right at halfway through the week instead.
Yeah, thank you for having me back on, man. It's I wish it was Thursday, but it's we still got a few days to go until this. I think the anticipation's building for this game and stuff, and so I think we're just ready for it to be here already.
Absolutely, and today we'll finally start kind of taking a look at Oklahoma and what exactly this matchup on Saturday is going to be like. But some congratulations in order today. Your 1-year anniversary of going full time with Gamecock Central.
Yeah, no, look, it's crazy. It's already been a year since I started full-time on the beat here at USC, and look, it's been awesome, and now I get to be here with you and talking sports every day. It's even awesomer now.
I asked Colin this question several times. How many miles do you think you put on the car in this past year?
Gosh, this past year? Well, considering I drove a ton for baseball and basketball, now with football, gosh, I couldn't even tell you, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's gonna be a lot by the end of the year.
No such thing as a 9 to 5 when you're covering any kind of beat like you do over there at Gamecock Central. But obviously, great work, and we love having you on here every day now.
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate you guys for bringing me on, and I love hopping on here every day talking sports with you.
Well, that anniversary, I can't think of a better way to celebrate it than with the Sandstorm Minute.
Let's go.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm. Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
Of course, we got to play some Sandstorm for our Sandstorm pick-me-up, as always. There we go. It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803-ALL-9s. Jack, this upcoming weekend, not going to hear any Sandstorm because they will be on the road in Norman, Oklahoma, taking on the Sooners, who right now are a 3-point favorite, according to ESPN, who gives them a matchup prediction of 65% chance to win this game, which, considering the fact that they're 4-2, they just dropped out of the top 25, just casually glancing over this game, sure, I can understand that.